I need your advice. There's something I want to do, something I have to do. But it'll divide the Night's Watch. Bitterly. Half the men will hate me the moment I give the order.
Half the men hate you already, Lord Commander. Do it.
But you don't know what it is.
That doesn't matter. You do. You will find little joy in your command, but with luck, you will find the strength to do what needs to be done. Kill the boy, Jon Snow. Winter is almost upon us. Kill the boy, and let the man be born.
And now, from the crypts of Winterfell, it's your favorite podcast of Thrones, Game of Microphones, with Sir Duncan and Lady Rachel. Winter is here.
7 blessings, stonemen of the doom, and welcome to Game of Microphones. I'm Lord Sterling, Sir Duncan, King in the East.
And I'm Lady Rachel, Queen in the West.
And a huge thank you to Jon Bailey, the epic voice guy from the Emmy-nominated Honest Trailers, for announcing our podcast.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah. This is episode 87.
On this episode of our series Rewatch, we're covering Game of Thrones Season 5, Episode 5, Kill the Boy.
And in case you're not already aware, this series Rewatch is from the perspective of someone who's current on the show. That means you've seen up through Season 7. If not, there's still time to be roasted crispy and torn asunder by a pair of hungry dragons in the darkness, so you don't have to hear these spoilers.
Warning.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. This is a classic episode, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is a good episode. I love the name of this episode.
Kill the boy.
Because we see, obviously, we'll get into this, but Maester Aemon's conversation with Jon, where he actually says kill the boy, for Jon stepping into his role as Lord Commander. But we also see a lot of stepping up from Dany's perspective and, you know, basically sucking down her pride to marry Hisdar.
Ah, nice parallel.
Yeah. And
she's killing the girl.
Yeah, basically. And then I also felt that, again, Sansa is becoming definitely a lady in the fact how she deals with Ramsay's display of reek.
Oh, man, what a fucked up scene.
Yeah. And then also killing the boy when Stannis talks to Sam. And he's like, you're not a warrior, you know, but then they start talking about how he killed the White Walker. And I know we'll get into all of this, but, you know, Stannis says, you know, keep reading Samwell Tarly. And we know in the future, he's the one that figures out that Jon is a Targaryen.
Yes.
So he kind of steps up into his role because he keeps reading.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that scene with Sam and Stannis.
Oh, me too.
So
it's
good.
awesome. Yeah. So I just kind of made those correlations.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
So episode starts with Grey Worm lying there unconscious, and Missandei is watching with tears in her eyes, just totally upset, right? And then it cuts to the next scene where we know that Grey Worm is alive still, but Barristan is dead. And Dany is super upset, although she's not quite crying. But her lip is like trembling as she's talking to Hisdar and everything. And she goes on to tell Hisdar, who is apologizing, saying, "I'm so sorry, my queen. You know, he was a good man." She says, "Barristan the Bold," they called him. "He crossed a continent to serve me. He was a loyal friend, and he died in an alley, butchered by cowards who hide behind masks." And she's so mad about it. And
Yeah.
so I thought that this would be an appropriate moment to sort of as a eulogy for the great Batman, Barristan the Bold, to read his entry from the White Book.
Oh, yes.
That's a pretty cool idea, right? I bet our listeners would love to hear his story from the White Book.
Absolutely.
So, the White Book is as follows. Sir Barristan of House Selmy, firstborn of Sir Lionel Selmy of Harvest Hall, served as squire to Sir Manfred Swan, named the Bold in his 10th year, when he donned borrowed armor to appear as a mystery knight in the tourney of Black Haven. Where
Batman.
He was, yeah, right? A mystery knight. That is what Batman is. He wears, he hides his identity when he goes out and fights and wears black. Yeah. So Black Haven. So at this tournament where he was defeated and unmasked by Duncan, Prince of Dragonflies, knighted in his 16th year by King Aegon V Targaryen after performing feats of prowess as a mystery knight in the winter tourney at King's Landing, defeating Prince Duncan the Small and Sir Duncan the Tall, Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. Slew Meleys the Monstrous, last of the Blackfire Pretenders, in a single combat during the War of the Ninepenny Kings. Defeated Lormel Longlance and Cedric Storm, the bastard of Bronzegate, named to Kingsguard in his 23rd year by Lord Commander Sir Gerald Hightower. The White Bull, they called him. He was killed at the Tower of Joy. Just a side note.
Oh, okay.
Defended the passage against all challengers in the tourney of the Silver Bridge. Victor in the melee at Maidenpool. Brought King Ares II to safety during the defiance of Duskendale, despite an arrow wound in the chest. Avenged the murder of his sworn brother, Sir Gawain Gaunt. Rescued Lady Jane Swan and her septa from the Kingswood Brotherhood, defeating Simon Toyne and the Smiling Knight, the Joker, slaying the former. And it's sort of like Batman and the Joker.
I'm sorry, Barristan is Batman.
Yeah, and
that was his inspiration.
And Batman never kills the Joker, right? So of course he can't slay the Smiling Knight like he slayed Simon Toyne. In the Old Town tourney, defeated and unmasked the Mystery Knight Black Shield, revealing him to be the Bastard of Uplands, sole champion of Lord Stephen's tourney at Storm's End, where he unhorsed Lord Robert Baratheon, Prince Oberyn Martell, Lord Leighton Hightower, Lord John Connington, big book character, Lord Jason Mallister, and Prince Rhaegar Targaryen, wounded by arrow, spear, and sword at the Battle of the Trident whilst fighting beside his sworn brothers and Rhaegar, Prince of Dragonstone. Pardoned and named Lord Commander of the Kingsguard by Robert Baratheon, first of his name. Served in the honor guard that brought Lady Cersei of House Lannister to King's Landing to wed Robert. Led the attack on Old Wick during Balon Greyjoy's rebellion. Champion of the tourney at King's Landing in his 57th year, and finally dismissed by Joffrey I Baratheon in his 61st year for reasons of advanced age. And wow, that is quite an impressive resume. I mean, who on earth can say that they defeated Sir Duncan the Tall, Rhaegar Targaryen, Oberyn Martell? I mean, all of the best and most legendary names in combat are men that he has defeated, except Sir Arthur Dayne. I don't think we read that he's defeated Sir Arthur Dayne in anything in here.
Oh, interesting.
But damn, like, wow, that is an impressive resume. And like you said, he had a tendency to hide his identity and fight as a mystery knight, which is very remindful of Batman. And Barristan, and defeating the Smiling Knight, who would seem to represent the Joker. I just love it. I thought it would be fun to read that in memory of the great Barristan the Bold. And it's
R.I.P.
Yeah, we lost him too soon. I mean, he was old, but we still lost him far too soon. Very sad.
R.I.P.
Yes. So what's your number 5?
My number 5 is
Shuck it, Trebek. Rough, just the way your mother likes it, Trebek.
The word fewer is my number 5.
Yes. Oh man.
I love this scene because they're arguing over bringing the wildlings over to the wall, which is a fairly significant discussion that needs to occur. And Stannis is over there like correcting grammar.
He always has these brilliant moments of comedy where he's like, it's not like he's trying to be funny, but it's just so goddamn funny.
Yeah. So the guy up at the table, he's like, let them die. We got our own to worry about, less enemies for us. And Stannis, like under his breath, he goes, fewer.
And it's so funny. Davos is like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. So, it's a nice scene too, because we get the both sides of the story. Jon does a good job by allowing everyone to vet their concerns and point of view. And I think he's taking it all in, but based off his conversation with Maester Aemon, he's decided what he's decided and is going to go through with it. But he does give all of his brothers a chance to express themselves.
Yep, air their grievances, so to speak.
Yeah. And we there's lots of good point like Alistair makes. We've been fighting them all for thousands of years. They've slaughtered villages and they've slaughtered our brothers. And Jon makes the point, we've slaughtered theirs.
Yeah, totally. It's been quite the the back and forth. They cross the wall, you kill them,
Yeah. And I loved Ed's sentence here. I'll follow you anywhere, that. But they killed Gren and they killed Pip.
Yeah, Ed is one of his ride or dies, So if Ed can't follow Jon under this circumstance, it's like, whoa, you gotta like
big time. Yeah. So
red flags.
It's a good one for Jon, but I love the comedic relief of Stannis because he's so dry. I mean, he's like beyond dry. He's like dehydrated.
Yeah, and that's hilarious. And I can credit Game of Thrones with teaching me this grammar lesson because I beforehand didn't quite understand the distinction between fewer and less.
Yeah.
Where fewer is quantitative and less is qualitative, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thanks for that, George.
Yeah. So
I employ it all the time too. I'm really careful about it now.
I should probably be more careful myself, but we shall see. I'll probably catch myself the next time saying
I make fewer mistakes with this grammar than I used to.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Yeah. So while this is a short number 5 for me, I think it's important for Jon's development as Lord Commander.
Absolutely.
What's your number 5?
My number 5 is barbecued masters, extra crispy.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
So we enter the dragon chamber, and Dany had just basically made the call to round up all the masters hilariously, and Hizdar Zolorak is like, but I'm one of the masters. I'm the master of my house, and Dario just kind of like nods, and they come and scoop him up. And
peace out, homie.
Yeah, and before that, Dario had given the suggestion, we can pull back in the pyramid zone or whatever, and use that as a base of operations and move street by street and clear them out and rout out all these fucking harpies, basically. And Hizdar is kind of like, his eyes are like dashing back and forth between the two of them, between Dany and Dario, like terrified of what her response will be. I thought that was a funny little piece of acting by the actor playing Hizdar. It's just his eyes darting back and forth. It's great.
Yeah.
So we walk into the dragon chamber, and all the masters are chained up, and they're being pushed towards the dragons with like the butts of spears, basically. Yeah. And somebody's like, you can't do this. And Dany's like, they'll eat you if I tell them to. They may even eat you if I don't. Children.
I love the way she says that too in Valyrian.
Then the way she says children, like,
what are you going to do?
Yeah. Some say I should give up on them, but a good mother never gives up on her children. She disciplines them if she must. And she's sort of speaking about the children, but she's also alluding to the masters here as her children as well, So when she says she must discipline them sometimes, she nods to Daario and he pushes forth one of the masters.
Definitely a double meaning there.
Oh yeah. She's going to discipline these guys. So, but she does not give up on them. And I also like how this line says, tells us that she hasn't lost faith in her babies, her precious dragons. Even though Drogon roasted that little girl, she hasn't given up on them completely. She's still trying, which is good. She hasn't completely lost her inner dragon.
Sure.
And then it's so fucking epic as the first glimpse we get of a dragon in this scene is only allowed by the light of the flame within its mouth.
Oh, yes. I have this in my notes, too.
As the flames start to build inside of its mouth, you start to see its face light up and then and just fucking roasts this guy. And one of the coolest things about this is that he does not stop burning. Like his body stays on fire. So it's kind of like these the dragon's breath, you could say, is almost like napalm. It seems like there's like liquid within it or something that coats the victim and just keeps it burning and burning.
I was thinking like wildfire.
Yeah. That's the perfect parallel. Napalm, wildfire, similar type stuff. So yeah. I wonder if there's some sort of connection between dragonfire and wildfire.
Maybe that was like, because the pyromancers made the wildfire, but maybe the dragonfire was their muse to try to
emulate or something.
Make it synthetically.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So this guy is getting roasted hard, and then the dragons each grab half of him and just rip him right in half.
That's so intense.
Blood just splatters everywhere. It practically splatters all over the camera lens.
This is another for the rewatch scene for me.
Yeah, for the rewatch. Just do it.
For the rewatch. I just got to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So Dany, as this guy's getting ripped in half and the dragons are crunching on his bones, she starts speaking again. Who is innocent? Maybe all of you are. Looking at one of the masters. Then she turns and looks at Hizdar. Maybe none of you are. And her hand slides up on his back. Maybe I should let the dragons decide. And he has an epic response. Valar Morghulis. And she seems like kind of impressed by his bravery here. He's been kind of a bitch, just whining about the fighting pits up until now, and like, oh, I'm one of the masters of my house. Don't take me.
Don't take me.
But all of a sudden, he's like, all men must die. Like facing his death like a champion.
Yeah,
and she's almost kind of taken aback by it. And the guy's like roasting in the background with flames 4 feet high. They're just like toying with Viserion and Rhaegal are just like toying with the body, and Dany's like, maybe we don't want to overfeed them. Tomorrow, perhaps. And Hizdar's look of relief on his face is hilarious. He's like kind of blinking a little bit. Like,
he's like, oh my God.
See him breathing. Daario and the Unsullied kind of gather the masters again and escort them back out from the crypt down here, and Dany just hangs out and watches them eat. Oh man, yeah. That's pretty Mad King like, don't you think?
I think it's the closest to the Mad King that we've kind of seen her actually execute. You know what I mean? As far as she says that she's going to do a lot of stuff like this, but she's actually doing it in this scene. Right.
This is the second time we've seen her use the dragons to kill people. The first being Krasny's Monastis at Astapor when she takes the Unsullied.
Oh, yes.
I'd forgotten about that too. I was like, oh man, this is the first time we've seen her like execute people with the dragons. And technically that's true, like in like a formal execution style. But we did see her, at least have Drogon roast that one guy. And he was little at the time, too. Drogon was like tiny little.
Yeah, he was pretty tiny. He was still like, he was about probably as tall as Dany was.
Even less, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he was in that little cage.
That's true.
I
think with his wingspan, it makes him look a little bit bigger.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, man. So that pretty much covers my number 5. Roasted Masters, extra crispy.
Roasted Masters. Love it.
Come get your Masters. Hot, salty Masters.
Oh, man.
How about your number 4?
My number 4 is the scene where Ramsay puts his psychoticness on display. And this is, we're up at Winterfell and they're all at that table.
Yes, the dinner table.
In the main room. And Ruth starts out, I trust that you find your chamber suitable, my lady. She goes, yes, thank you, my lord. And they're talking and Ramsay's being all like, oh, I'll pour your wine. Here, mom. I'm going to pour your wine too.
Yeah, it's so awkward how he calls her mom.
Yeah. And, so he wants to drink to their wedding. And may our happiness spread from Moat Cailin to the last hearth. And they go, to your wedding. And all 3 of them drink and Sansa does not drink. She's like, this is stupid. She watches them and she looks at her cup and then she puts it down and has like a stank face. She's like, I'm good. And this whole time, as this is all happening at the beginning of this scene, Ramsay is just acting way too normal, like way too human. It's unnerving and it makes you think like something bad must be coming. Yeah, exactly. And Walda is trying to make small talk with Sansa and she goes, it must be difficult for you being in a strange place. And Sansa's like, this place is not strange. I grew up here. Yeah, like, what the fuck are you talking about? You guys are strange, motherfuckers. It's the people. You guys aren't supposed to be here. I think it's also really funny how she's called Fat Walda over and over. Well, there's a reason for that. What is it? Walder Frey offered Roose a dowry of the weight of his bride in silver. So he chose the fattest one. A fat young bride. Yep. I hope she makes you happy. She's made me very rich. Yeah, that's a horror. And Kat's like, that's disgusting. Right. Yeah, exactly. I love after Sansa says it's the people who are strange and Ramsay goes, you're right. Very strange. More wine. It's like he's totally admitting that he's extremely strange. A whack job. So he says more wine and in comes Reek. And so Ramsay is gloating about how he's, basically just completely ruined Theon's life, essentially. Mm-hmm. And we start seeing the first glimpse of him torturing Sansa. This is the first time we see him start to play his games with her. Right. Start to begin to torment her. And she's used to being tormented by Joffrey, so she sees these red flags probably. Immediately. Yeah. And she even says at one point, she's like, why are you doing this? Like, what the fuck did I do to you? Like, I've been nothing but polite and kind, and you're starting to, come at me. And I'm sure it makes her extremely nervous for maybe not what she is expecting, like sexually to be abused, but I know she's afraid to be there because of what they did to her family. Totally. So this is an important scene for Ramsay and Sansa, and it starts to foreshadow that he's going to torment her because he starts, I imagine that the last time you spoke was in this very room. Are you still angry with him after he, what he did? And it's so creepy when he says this. He goes, don't worry, the North remembers. Right. Yeah. And that made me think, are some of these people that are saying this plants? Maybe. I took it as kind of a, echo back to when that old lady enters Sansa's chamber and says, you have friends here in the North. If you're ever in trouble, the North remembers. Yeah. So I thought it was kind of a foreshadow to her demise, the old lady's demise, and the flaying, and that's really when the torment of Sansa kicks in.
Right. To me, this says that Ramsay is aware of that term, which means that he has some type of spies or people infiltrating, maybe pretending to be resistance that are reporting to him, because he's like aware of the lingo. He ends up busting Sansa when she goes up to light the candle, right?
Yeah.
And this lady, I think, ends up dead because of this.
Yes,
so,
she's flayed. Right. She's flayed.
Yeah, totally. So I feel like Ramsay has people on the inside here that are within the resistance, you could say. So Ramsay's talking about Theon, saying that he's not even Theon anymore. He's a new man, a new person.
Aren't you, Reek?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, master.
That's his new name, Reek. And that's when Sansa's like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, and I think this is really interesting because he's making Reek apologize for a crime he essentially did not commit against Sansa.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, while he did commit a crime and hanging those boys and burning them, which is terrible, it wasn't Bran and Rickon.
Yeah, he's like perpetuating the myth that Bran and Rickon were murdered.
Yeah, but I find it really, kind of comical because across the table is sitting Roose Bolton, who actually killed Sansa's brother, and is, there's not been an apology.
No apologizing for that. Yeah, definitely.
So,
like, personally killed him.
Yeah, like stabbed him in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was kind of, disgustingly comical.
Yeah, totally.
Which is totally Ramsay's kind of personality in a way. He finds it funny.
Yeah. He's so fucked up.
It's really disgusting, so, because, Reek has something to say to you. Like, don't you, Reek?
Yeah. Apologize to Lady Sansa for what you did.
Apologize for murdering her two brothers. He's like shuddering and he's like, I'm sorry. Look at her.
Yeah, an apology doesn't mean anything if you're not looking the person in the eye.
So it goes on way awkwardly too long, and you can feel the tension in the room. And, I'm sorry for what? What are you sorry for, Reek? For killing your brothers. There, over and done with. Doesn't everyone feel better? It's like that awkward pause that he does, and he's like looking around the room.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm so relieved. It was super tense.
Yeah, it's actually really funny the way he says that.
Yeah.
That was getting very tense.
Very tense. And then again, we see a little bit more torment here. What with having him murdered your brothers and all, and the rest of your family gone, like reminding her that, hey, we killed your mom and your brother and your sister-in-law.
Yeah, fucking everybody.
Your niece or nephew. Reek is the nearest thing to living kin that you have left. Reek, you will give away the bride. I just think that's so horrible.
Yeah. As if killing your family wasn't enough, and having you marry the people that killed your family wasn't enough. Now we're going to make the person who killed your brother be your father at your wedding and walk you down the aisle.
Exactly, which is kind of creepy in itself because Reek, which was Theon, was Ned Stark's ward.
Yeah.
So he played a big role in Ned's life and the kids' lives and the Stark kids' lives, and I just found it interesting. It reminded me of being a ward for Ned.
Pretty brutal. Pretty brutal.
So then Roose is over it.
Yeah, Roose is starting to get fed up with Ramsay's bullshit here, I think.
I think he was kind of letting him go on to see how far he would go, because I think Roose sees the confidence boost that legitimizing him gave Ramsay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's trying to see like how this is changing his son's, demeanor.
And as Charlie Murphy would say, Ramsay is a habitual line stepper.
Yes.
He just pushes the boundaries, crossing every line possible.
Yes, he is. He pokes the bear.
Like Rick James.
I'm Rick James.
What do the five fingers say to the face?
Slap.
Unity. Yep, Ramsay's fucking hilarious here.
And now Roose is going to lay the hammer down and put Ramsay back in his place, back where he belongs. Well, Fat Walda and I have some really good news since we're all together. And then Walda's like, we're going to have a baby.
And this part's funny. Sansa immediately looks over to Ramsay for his reaction and then smiles over at Fat Walda.
Ha.
Yeah, totally.
Because she absolutely knows what's going through his head.
And she rubs it in. I'm very happy for you.
Yes. By the way she's carrying, Maester Vulcan thinks it looks like a boy.
And Ramsay looks so fucking frustrated.
He has the wine up to his mouth and he puts it back down. Like, fuck.
Yeah, he takes a big gulp.
Yep.
Oh, man. And Sansa's just smirking in the background.
Oh, I love it.
Enjoying his discomfort. It echoes
the smirk when she kills him.
Totally. Anything else you want to add for your number 4?
No. What's your number 4?
Let's see. My number 4 is Jon, Birth of the Man.
Okay. Is this Kill the Boy?
Yeah.
Okay. This is my number 3, so we can collab.
Sounds good. So the beginning of the Birth of the Man in this episode, I think, is when Jon goes to visit Tormund.
Yes. Okay.
Which is also a fucking fantastic scene.
Oh, it's fabulous.
And like not enough great things can be said about this scene. Jon's actions, Tormund's reactions. I mean, they've always been
tension.
Yeah, the tension. And like how they're Tormund's being antagonistic, but at the same time they're like really good friends and they have a great respect for each other. And I just love the way that Jon, like after the end of this scene, Tormund is on Team Jon. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, big time.
That's it. Like, it's just fucking great. So, Jon comes in and he's asking Tormund where all the rest of the free folk have gone. And he's like, where the fuck do they go? Who's leading them now? And Tormund's like, they followed Mance. They don't follow anybody else. It's only Mance that's been able to pull them together. And he's like, Jon's like, well, what about you? Right? And he's like, hard to lead when you're in chains. I'm sitting here chained up. How are they going to follow me? He's like, well, what if I unchained you? And he's like, why would you do that? Yeah, because you're not my enemy and I'm not yours. You sure seemed like my enemy when you were killing my friends. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good case,
For 8,000 years, the Night's Watch have sworn an oath.
Yeah, to be the shield that guards the realms of men. And for 8,000 years, we've fallen short. You belong to the realms of men, all of you, he says. And he's starting to solidify his philosophy here. This is like, as it's been, forming in his mind, and this is when he starts to act on his resolve. And it's fucking great. This is the moment, that the man is being born, when he begins to act like Maester Aemon said, do it,
Yes.
So, so Tormund's like, like, what? All of a sudden, everything's gonna change, and Jon's like, "Yeah, I'm Lord Commander of the Night's Watch," and
it's gonna change.
It's gonna change. That's what's happening. And so Tormund's like, "Well, what do you need me to do?" And he's like, "You got to go north of the wall. You got to gather the remaining free folk, bring them back here, and I'll open the gates. We need to get everybody south of the wall." Because shit is going down, basically. And so Jon further states that he doesn't want them to kneel for him. He wants them to fight when the time comes, fight for the living, like we'll all be doing, basically. Just join us. We can all. Yeah. It's going to take all of us, and they will, spectacularly at some point. So Tormund has a funny line. He says the day that he asks his people to fight with the crows is the day that his people would cut his guts from his belly and make them eat them. Which is hilarious.
Oh my God.
I'm just like picturing that like, oh God, that would suck. So he's like, listen, if you don't try to make this happen, you're condemning them to death, worse than death. And I like that worse than death line because he's alluding to becoming whites.
Yeah, like they're not going to die.
Yeah, it's like in The Walking Dead, if your friend or family member dies of natural causes or is injured and dies, you pith them, you stab them in the brain to prevent them from coming back as a walker, because that's worse than death, eternal madness, and etc.
Wandering.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like almost like purgatory.
Yeah, exactly. I was trying to find a word like that. Yeah, it's pretty horrible. I mean, odds are it's not your consciousness. You're just like sort of an automaton, or it's like a rebirth of a new animalistic reptilian sort of consciousness other than your own. But still, it's your body's doing it, so it's fucked up. Like, you don't want that. You don't want that happening to your body.
Yeah.
So he's like, you're condemning them to a fate worse than death because you're too proud to make peace, or maybe you're not proud. Maybe you're just a coward.
No one likes being called a coward.
Right. Tormund stands up. Easy thing to say to a man in chains. And Tormund is just so much bigger than Jon. Like, he's
oh my God,
looking down at Jon. And this is easily one of my favorite moments in the whole show. And it means something if you can impress Tormund Giantsbane like this, and Jon, looking Tormund in the eye the whole time, basically grabs his chains, unlocks the chains, removes them, and they're just making eye contact. And I feel like Tormund is like truly inspired by Jon at this moment. It's not like that he's just respecting Jon and like, wow, this is cool. He's like inspired by Jon. I think he sees that Jon is like, has like a remarkable destiny, and he's like, yeah, like a transcendent figure. He sees what Stannis sees, which is something important. It's wild.
I also find this part as he's undoing his chains like very symbolic in the fact that they're gonna
that's brilliant.
Like let them through the wall. Like if you look at it from a perspective, they want to get on the other side of this wall,
right?
So they're kind of imprisoned up in the north.
Exactly, they've been imprisoned in the north for thousands of years.
The Lord Commander of the Night's Watch is essentially unchaining
the gate, like
the
you could
gate.
say.
And Tormund to come through the gate. So I found it very symbolic.
That's a great catch there. I like that. It's totally a microcosm of the whole situation.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, very poetic.
Yes, absolutely. It's such a great moment. It gives me goosebumps every time. It's like, he's freeing them.
Yes. So Jon goes on, your people need a leader. And they need to get south of the wall before it's too late. And I think Tormund just sees, that Jon is genuine and he's really trying to save these people. And you can see the internal conflict in Tormund written all over his face. Another just amazing performance by the actor. I can't remember his name at the moment, but you can see he's angry at Jon. But at the same time, his face is like flinching as he's struggling to accept his admiration for Jon at the same moment. And he's like, enemy or friend, you can see it right across his face. He desperately wants to trust Jon, but he's conditioned by a whole lifetime to hate crows, And Jon ends up winning. He wins him over. And so he basically agrees. Yeah, he basically agrees to go do it, and he tells him most of the wildlings are at Hardhome, and Jon's like, oh yeah, I know where that is. I can give you 10 horses, 9 other men. And Tormund's like, we'll need ships, so he says, we'll get Stannis' ships. I'll talk to him about lending you the fleet, which is pretty crazy, right?
I know, right? Just to like lend your whole fleet of ships
to the wildlings. So
make me a little nervous.
Yeah, totally. So then Tormund's like, all right, but one condition, you're coming with me. You're the Lord Commander. They need to hear it from you. If they think that the the ships that they're boarding, like they could be torched on the way back or something like that. You need to be there so that they know that it's not a trick, basically. And the look on Jon's face is fucking hilarious at that point.
I know. He's like, okay.
Yeah, he looks super pretty surprised and kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah,
like he just
exactly.
like faced down this big wildling, this big tough wildling, and now he's like,
I think he's kind of relieved.
Yeah, probably a mix of all those two. You come with me or I don't go, he tells him. And yeah,
it's
just
like, okay.
just a great scene.
I think he's relieved in the fact that Tormund's agreeing to do it, but then there's like obviously a twinge of nervousness, like, oh crap, now I have to go.
Yeah, totally. Oh man, and we know what happens at Hardhome. Whew. This is the first mention we get of Hardhome, actually. That's
right. That is true.
So in a couple episodes, we will see the chaos. I can't wait to talk about that episode. That's everybody's, one of everybody's favorite episodes, right?
Oh my God. It's one of my, I think it might be a top 3 for me.
Yeah. One of the best episodes of any show, honestly.
Yeah, ever.
Yeah. I was showing it off to one of my friends the other day. He'd never seen Game of Thrones. I almost said Game of Microphones. He'd never seen Game of Thrones, so I showed him a few select scenes to sort of pique his interest, to show him that, dude, you need to watch this.
Like, it's epic.
Yeah, so we watched a few minutes of the battle at Hardhome, and he was like, "Oh my God, dude!" Pretty hilarious.
Yeah, he's probably gonna watch it now.
Oh yeah. So that finishes up my number 4. Anything else you want to add about the Jon and Tormund scene?
No, that's it for me on that scene.
Cool. Yeah. So actually, it didn't. My number 4 didn't actually cover the kill the boy part. It was just that this moment is like where he starts to be the man.
Be the man. Okay, so my number 3 is actually the kill the boy scene.
Perfect.
So we can just jump right into that.
Great.
So we start with Sam reading a Raven note to Maester Aemon, and it's giving him an update on Dany, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
There's somebody sending ravens to Maester Aemon about Dany.
Yeah, I wonder if it was like specifically to Maester Aemon, or if it was just somebody like sending updates about the escalating scene in Marine.
Maybe. But like, why would the Night's Watch need to know that?
Yeah, I don't know. Not sure. Either way, it's interesting.
I found it interesting. Yeah. So Maester Aemon's listening with, his little look, and his little mouth is all pursed, and he's like kind of looking off into the distance.
And though Daenerys maintains her grip on Slavers Bay, forces rise against her from within and without. She refuses to leave until the freedom of the former slaves is secure. She sounds like quite a woman.
Yes, she is.
And Sam knows what's up.
I love Maester Aemon, and she's alone, under siege, no family to guide her or protect her. Her last relation, thousands of miles away, useless, dying. It's so sad.
So sad. And also, he doesn't know that Jon is also her second to last relation.
Yeah, that's so true.
But he's also dying pretty soon, so it applies to him as well.
For the first time. Hopefully the last time.
Yeah, it's just so sad that Aemon knows that his time is running out, and Sam is just not ready to hear that yet.
And he goes, "Don't say that, Maester Aemon. Like, please don't."
Yeah.
A Targaryen alone in the world is a terrible thing. And it just is so sad. And then we cue Jon Snow or Aegon Targaryen
walking in. But this line about a Targaryen being alone in the world, being such a terrible thing, it's so painful to hear, because he's talking about his own experience being the lone Targaryen in the planet, up alone at the wall with his entire family dead. The only surviving members fled to Essos. 2, that's it. And so he's basically been a Targaryen alone for decades.
Yeah.
And it's just sad to know that he's felt that it's been so terrible.
Yeah, and he's sad to hear of his kin being alone in the world.
Right.
And then also it's Jon standing right there and probably hears it. And while Jon doesn't know he's a Targaryen, for a long time he felt kind of alone in the world and didn't have a place.
Yeah.
Because he was the bastard of Winterfell. So I think
not only that, his whole family's been slaughtered too, basically. All that remains is Sansa and...
Yeah. So there's a lot of parallels here.
And both of them, this experience being stuck at the wall, having to stay there, and as that word comes that their family is being killed one by one, it just must have been really hard for both of them.
Yeah, so there's a lot of parallels between them. And
right. Imagine, like, especially like as a mother, like you'd never want to lose your children before you go, so being Aemon, watching younger generations being put to death while he is stuck at the wall, unable to help, must just be gut-wrenchingly horrible.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Completely.
So, yeah, Jon walks in.
Yeah. Maester Aemon.
Lord Commander.
Sam, I'd like to speak to the Maester alone. And it's this little back and forth between such a wise old man and a young leader. Talk about a mentor in Maester Aemon.
Yeah, totally.
And I love Jon says, "How are you feeling?" "Oh, like 100-year-old men slowly freezing to death." And Jon smiles because he just thinks it's funny.
Oh, it's so brutal. It's funny, like the timing of Jon walking in right now, after the line of a Targaryen being alone in the world. It's just another hint that Jon is a Targaryen. Like you mentioned Targaryens, then boom, Jon walks in. But especially after last episode, with all those hints about Jon having, king's blood and whatnot, it's just a particularly poignant moment. Pretty on the nose. And tragically, as Aemon is saying this, a Targaryen alone in the world is a terrible thing. He wasn't a Targaryen alone in the world. He's been there with another Targaryen for months or for years. And it's just so tragic that neither of them knew it. They're family members sitting there and they had the chance to share history with each other. And Jon had the opportunity to learn. He had the best source. Like if Ned was dead, Ned could have told him about a little bit about Rhaegar, but Aemon could have told him everything. All of this information about his family and generations of it and their history and their exploits and their accomplishments. And it's just so sad.
So I think Maester Aemon, like relation wise, if I'm not mistaken, is Jon's great uncle.
Something like that. I don't know.
I think he's Dany's great uncle, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know that on the show, in the books, he's a couple generations older. Even he's like wicked old in the books.
So like a great uncle.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So I think in the purpose of the show, I think if I'm not mistaken, he's Jon's great uncle.
Sounds good. We'll go with that.
If I'm wrong, let me know.
Well, yeah. Let us know if we're wrong for sure.
Yeah. So.
This is when Jon asks for advice.
Yeah, so I need to ask your advice. There's something I want to do, something I have to do, but it will divide the Night's Watch. And I thought this was great because Aemon makes a really good point. Half the men hate you already, Lord Commander. Do it. No
hesitation. That's the thing. Like,
do it.
Oh my God, it's amazing. He's so good at reading people and getting to know people. Like, sight is almost a distraction at some point. You know what I mean? Like if you can't see, you pick up on the nuances.
He's reading. He's listening into the variations of their voice, and
you hear their soul.
It's true.
And so he is lack of hesitation here and just saying, do it. It just shows you that he trusts Jon an extraordinary amount.
Yeah, I mean, he was the swing vote to get him into that position.
Yeah.
So he trusts Jon's decisions.
Yeah, he's like inspired like by Jon, like sort of the way that Tormund is. Like all these people like look up to Jon and are just like, they know he knows what's right.
Even 200-year-old men.
Yeah. Who are freezing to death.
And Jon's like, wait, you don't even know what it is I'm talking about. And Aemon's amazing wisdom, that doesn't matter. You do. You'll find little joy in your command, but with luck, you'll find strength to do what needs to be done. Kill the boy, Jon Snow. Winter is almost upon us. Kill the boy and let the man be born.
Oh,
it's like,
God.
Oh my God. Like, I need that in like my inspirational
right.
affirmations in the morning. Like
Jon's response is, oh, you're speaking philosophically. I thought at first you meant to kill Ollie. Kill the boy, Jon Snow, and he's like, oh, kill Ollie. That's strange advice.
What the hell?
And then let the man be born. Oh, this is a metaphor. Okay,
it's about me.
Yeah, it's ominous though, and it's really important advice. Also, it's funny, kill the boy, let the man be born is totally foreshadowing Jon's death. And you could say that in his death, the boy is killed and the man is reborn as he leaves his command at the Night's Watch and rides south to face his destiny and take his rightful place in the Great War.
Yes,
Fucking
the Battle
amazing.
of Kings, essentially.
Oh, Night King, and oh man, it's.
No, it's
good.
amazing. It's also, with theories floating out there, whether he's the prince who was promised or his offspring is going to be the prince who was promised, killing the boy and let the man be born. Like, you need to step into this role in order to fulfill this prophecy too. So it kind of fulfills that theory a little bit.
Totally. Such a great scene.
Yeah. So that was my number 3. Do you want to add anything else?
Not really. I think that pretty much does it for that scene.
Okay.
Another just really powerful, sort of ominous, important moment. Just super sad with the whole alone Targaryen thing when in fact he wasn't alone, and even more sad that Jon had the opportunity to learn about his family and never knew that that it was his family.
Was like right there with him.
Yeah, it's just so brutal. It's like ships passing in the night.
Wait till he makes that revelation in season 8.
Yeah, totally. Like, oh my God.
Because he's going to find out that he's a Targaryen and he's going to be like, holy shit, I was related to Maester Aemon.
Yeah. Oh, it's so brutal. He's going to be so mad at Ned.
I think he will be, but I think he's grown enough in his character that he will understand. He'll be angry about it, but he'll understand and respect why he did it.
Yeah, it's going to take some time, though, I think.
Yeah, but I think he's mature enough and has stepped away from that little boy with a chip on his shoulder enough to look at it with a wide lens to see the real reason behind it. And when he rode off to the Night's Watch, Ned did promise him, next time we see each other, we'll talk about your mother.
Yeah.
So maybe Ned would have told him the truth.
I think he would have.
They just never got a chance to see each other again.
It's just fucked up that Ned was waiting until he made a vow that stripped him of his name and shit to then tell him the truth that, oh, you're a Targaryen, heir to the king or heir to the throne. Jon's like, but I just made the vow,
Yeah. He's like, what?
Right.
So,
hilarious.
Yeah. So what is your number 3?
My number 3 is Reek reunited with Sansa, and his programming already begins to fail.
Yes.
So Sansa approaches the broken tower, and there's one shot looking down from the tower, which mirrors.
She's standing where Bran fell.
Yeah, and it mirrors a shot that was looking down at Kat in the pilot episode from the same position,
and also
I believe.
Summer.
Yeah, totally. So Miranda creeps up, and she's pretty. She's pretty.
She's really pretty.
A little skinny, but she's pretty.
Very skinny,
super
but
skinny.
Pretty face.
Yeah. So she's complimenting Sansa's dress, and Sansa's, getting Sansa to tell her that she made it herself. And Sansa's like, who are you? Like,
sorry, who are you? Like, why are you touching my dress?
Creepy girl, get away. And so she tells her who she is, Kennel Master's daughter, Miranda, continues admiring her stitching and asks who taught her. Sansa, obviously tells her mother taught her, which is partially true, but she was, getting instructions by septas and stuff too.
Yes, that's true.
So Miranda apologizes for what happened to her mom, which is kind of weird, because she doesn't really care. She's just trying to like schmooze for a bit, probably because she's so mad about the whole Ramsay looking at her thing. She's just trying to get in close so that she can do some damage, I think. Oh,
completely. Because she does. I mean, she's gonna cause Sansa to meet up with Reek again, which, and then we also, Miranda's the one that washes her hair before her wedding too.
Right. Yeah. We'll talk about that too next episode.
Yeah.
It's more poisoning of the well and stuff there.
Oh no, that's not this next episode, is it?
Next episode, yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
For the rewatch.
For the rewatch. So yeah, I think it's worth pointing out that Sansa looks very cat-like in this scene. And I don't mean feline, I mean looks a lot like Catelyn Stark.
Her mom.
Yeah, the dark colors, the hairstyle. She's starting to adopt the look of the North again, like we were talking about before. Remember, she had looked up to the Southerners so much and was looking forward to King's Landing. Like trying to emulate the Southern style, and she's really starting to. Yeah,
is adopting her true identity.
Yeah, so totally. So Miranda's like, it's great that she taught you how to stitch like that. It's a gift. Now every time you wear something that you made, you can remember her. And Sansa's like, yeah, I'd rather have a mother though,
Yeah.
So Miranda's like, here, follow me. I got to show you something cool. And they go over to the entrance of the kennels, I believe it is.
Yes.
And so it's super creepy, that she unlocks the gate and it's all dark in there and everything. And she's like, just walk to the end. It'll be fine. It's not a trap at all, I swear. It's perfectly safe. And Sansa has some balls, man. Like,
I wouldn't walk through that kennel.
Yeah.
You couldn't pay me $1 million to walk through that kennel. Right.
She goes right in there. And I think she's like, anything's better than being close to Miranda right now, So she's
kind of a freak.
Yeah, kind of a freakazoid. So she starts walking down the aisle, the walkway, and there's gates on either sides with hounds kind of going nuts in there as she's walking by, and she can see that the gate at the end on the left is open. So she walks down and peers around the edge, and there's somebody lying there in the straw, and it's Reek. He turns and lifts his head.
Theon?
Yeah, and you shouldn't be here. And it seems like he's talking about the kennel, like you shouldn't be here seeing me
in the kennel. Yeah,
but he's also probably saying like you shouldn't be at Winterfell. This is not safe for you.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
And Sansa is just furious. Like the sight of him just like throws her into a rage, basically, and she storms out.
Well, she's already surrounded by her family's killers, and now she is face to face with another one.
Yeah. So we've talked previously about how, when Ramsay had Reek shaving him and everything, he had a blade right to his throat, and his conditioning was so strong that Ramsay could torment him about Robb Stark while he had the knife to his throat, and he still just continued shaving him and didn't kill him, didn't take the opportunity to do it. And we talked about how going to Winterfell would be a big test for his conditioning, his brainwashing.
Yes,
and
we have.
All these memories being jogged by all of the sights and sounds and smells, and Sansa is just the straw that broke the camel's back, basically. So, like we said, this is when we start to see the cracks in the Reek facade start to form. So Reek enters Ramsay's chambers, and Ramsay has a great great line. You smell particularly ripe this evening. Ripe. Just hilarious word.
I say that to my son sometimes when he gets home from daycare.
Classic.
You smell a little bit ripe.
So he tells him to pour him some wine, and you know that he knows something because he's like, do you have something to tell me?
Oh, it's so creepy.
No, my lord. And this is a hint that his programming is not 100% locked in anymore, because if he was still 100% Reek, he would just tell him straight off the bat, but he is hiding something.
Yes,
and this is a clue that Theon is in there still. You know, it's starting to, the cracks are forming in the Reek armor, or the Reek prison, you could say. So Ramsay's like, Reek, you know, like, I know you have something to tell me, right? So he starts to tell him. He's stuttering. She saw me. Who? Sansa, Lady Sansa. She came to the kennels. And Ramsay's just, he seems like he could be kind of mad. So Reek starts apologizing and asking for forgiveness. And Ramsay's like, come here. You mustn't keep secrets from me, Reek. Get on your knees. And the first time watching, everybody's just got to be like, oh, fuck. No, you know? Give me your hand. And we know what he's done to Reek's hands before, like flaying his fingers, peeling his, and like, yeah.
Fuck, I can't even think about that.
So rough. So give me your hand, you know, and everybody's like, oh, shit.
No, don't
and
do
he's
it.
holding it, and he just says, I forgive you. And this is some hardcore manipulation, man. Like, oh, man. He's so scared to give him his hand, but he still does it anyway, which shows that the Reek programming is still pretty strong.
Yes. I would say it's like 90-10.
Yeah, totally. Maybe even 95 or, 99-1. But yeah, given the history of the torment that's already happened to his own fingers, it's just remarkable that he's would ever hand him his own hand and let him do
but
it.
like he's either going to resist and get pinned down, or he just does it willingly.
Right. So Alfie Allen deserves to be commended again for his performance in this scene, which is just great. He's just always 100% on his game and just killing it. The Reek character is just beautiful.
Totally.
So then, from there it goes on to the dinner scene, which we already covered. But the important part is that Reek resisted telling Ramsay what he wanted to know there for a minute, which shows that, his conditioning is starting to break.
Yes.
Break the conditioning, Reek. Break the conditioning.
Do you think that could be because he's at Winterfell and there's just too many memories around?
Absolutely. And I think that seeing Sansa just was like a slap to the face.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Totally. Yeah, that's it for my number 3. How about your number 2? What you got?
My number 2 is the marriage proposal.
Ooh, all right.
So we go back to Marine. We're still in Marine.
Oh, yes. This marriage proposal.
Yes. This marriage proposal.
Hilarious.
It's one of my favorite scenes of Dany's in Marine for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So his star, he's such a bitch. Oh, my queen, please do not do this. What about Valar Morghulis?
Valar Morghulis. Oh, that's going in the outtakes.
No.
At the end.
I just can't say it right now. Valar Morghulis. Oh, fuck. Valar Morghulis. That's it. I'm done. Oh, fuck. Okay. I did not want to die a coward. Valar Morghulis. I did not want to die a coward. Apparently, I do not want to die at all. I thought that was such a great line. He's like, I'm a fucking bitch.
And he sort of like sniffles.
Yeah. And I love that Dany has learned this lesson, that it takes courage to admit fear and to admit a mistake.
Yeah,
I'm here to tell you that I was wrong. I was wrong and you were right about tradition.
Totally. This is a really good moment because it shows that Dany has the traits of a good leader. And this is, it sort of harkens back to the conversation between Jon and Sir Alliser atop the wall. When Alliser admits that he made a mistake and that they should have filled the tunnel. But then he goes on to say that a good leader picks a course and sticks to it. Whereas Dany, who is actually a good leader, takes in all the information available at any given time and uses it to make the right choice, even if it's different than
her decision.
Right. Even if what she learns now to be the right choice is different than something that than the path that she's already decided to take, she will change the navigation and alter the course to incorporate new information into her tactics, that's a good leader. You know, I have a lot of respect for that.
Completely. Absolutely. So she continues on about bringing the people of the city together. I will reopen the fighting pits to free men only. Slavery will never return to Meereen, not while I live. And he's like, yes, my queen, whatever you want. Please don't feed me to your dragons.
Please don't feed me.
And then this is, her kind of stepping into the kill the girl aspect. And in order to forge a lasting bond with the Meereenese people, I will marry the leader of an ancient family. And Hizdahr nods, like, probably a good idea. And I love, she's like looking down at him. Thankfully, a suitor is already on his knees. It's like, boom.
It takes a couple seconds for it to sort of sink in with him, too, because she's not looking at him when she says it, I don't think. And then she's sort of like...
she's kind of behind him.
Yeah, she sort of just like walks out. Does she touch his shoulder as she walks out, or does she just leave?
I think she brushes his shoulder very quickly.
And just walks right out, and he's just sort of sitting there like...
He's like, oh my God, what just happened? I went from being dragon food to being a king.
Right, yeah, I have from dragon flame to dragon ponane.
Oh my God.
I would have settled for my life, but this, yay!
Right? We know how much you love her.
Yeah. Freaking hilarious, man. Hilarious.
Yeah, so that was my number 2.
Nice. That's also, yeah, like you said, just a great scene. This episode, man, has so many good scenes. I know we're like always saying that about every episode, but it's true. It's just such a good show.
We go a lot of, again, like, was it last episode? No, it was a couple episodes. We go a lot of places in this episode.
For sure.
Which is fun. And we see a lot of people that we don't see very often, like Miranda and Ollie and Podrick and Brienne. And
we see a lot of Miranda, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Hey, girl. Eat a cheeseburger.
Yeah, please. I got these cheeseburgers, man.
I'll give you one of mine.
Anything else you want to add about that scene?
No. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is Sam and Stannis.
Yes.
The Menace.
I knew you were going to say that.
How can I resist? It's just so much fun to say.
Right.
So we're in the library at Castle Black, and Gilly, man, oh my God. She is freaking hilarious. Is this every book there is? And Sam's like, every book there is. I mean, in the world, Gilly says. She's so silly.
It's like a tiny ass library.
Yeah. And Sam is like, he's not very like, he's trying to be like nice about it, but he's like, oh my God, for real.
He's being diplomatic, but he's kind of like, how do you not know this?
Frustrated a little bit. Yeah. He's like, well, no, there are thousands and thousands of books out there. this library is rather small, actually. And so he goes on to say that the Citadel is the largest library in the world. So that's, we've talked about it before, but obviously the Citadel is a parallel for, it could be a couple of things. It could be the library at Alexandria, which would be more fitting for like the time period type thing. But it could also represent the Library of Congress.
Oh.
I just kind of thought of that right now, which is similar, essentially one of the largest collections of books and things in the planet. So that's kind of cool. But mentioning the Citadel at all is foreshadowing their upcoming journey to the Citadel together.
Yes,
which
absolutely.
is kind of cool. And so,
I love seeing the Citadel.
Yeah.
That big, light clock thing that they have.
Yeah, like astrolabe or whatever it's called.
And the music that plays when the Citadel comes around is so beautiful.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to pay attention for it. Another one that they play at the Game of Thrones in concert.
Yes, and they have that light thing, and it comes down from the center.
Way.
Yes,
that's so
it's
cool.
So fucking awesome. I can't even. They have to come around again.
Yeah, we'll
probably be gone by then, but I'm telling you, we will fly back to California to watch it if we have to.
You don't think they'll go to Idaho?
I doubt they'll go to Boise. I'm not really sure, but something tells me that
it's great.
It's not enough people.
So Gilly's never heard of the Citadel, and she's like, "Well, where's that?" And he's like, "The Citadel? You don't know about this?
It's Old Town.
In Old Town." And she's like, "I'm sorry, I don't know things."
Because she was probably going to say, "Where's Old Town?"
Yeah. And she can tell he's getting a little frustrated. And we know that all she knows is S.
Yeah.
I know S. So Sam tries to make her feel better, which is nice. He's like, you know 100 things that I can never do. You can build a fire with wet wood, which is like, whoa, you can do that? That's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
You can cook, you can stitch a wound. And she's like, stop belittling me.
I can wash the linens. I can sweep the floor.
He's like, well, yeah, that's, yeah. So she's asking why and everything and why they have the biggest library there. And he's like, that's where they train the maesters. And she's like, oh, like Maester Aemon. And this is an important part too, because Sam says that he wanted to be a maester when he was young. And instead he became a man of the Night's Watch, which had to be a little bit disappointing for him, But he's like trying to make himself feel better. Far more adventure up here anyway, I wouldn't have met you, which is true. And it was kind of remindful of how when Missandei was saying to Grey Worm, like, oh, I'm so sorry that you were cut, that you were mutilated. And he's like, well, I'm not sorry because, if that never happened, I never would have joined the Unsullied. I never would have been made the head of the Unsullied. I never would have been working for Dany, and I never would have met you, Missandei. Right. So it's sort of a parallel here with
very much
with
so.
Sam. He's like, my dreams didn't come true, and I got stuck in this place that it sucks, basically, and I was neutered in a different type of way, and more metaphorically, and but it's okay because I met you, and I'm gonna get laid. Yeah,
pretty much.
But obviously, it's foreshadowing his assignment given to him by Jon, which is that he is going to become a maester. That Yay! At least he's going to begin the process. And
Maester Sam, Maester Samwell.
Yeah,
that sounds funny.
And so it's right about at that moment when Stannis comes strolling down the steps. And
Manus.
The Manus. and Gilly books it. She runs out of there.
Oh fuck, I'm getting the hell out of here.
Scurries out, which is hilarious. I don't know, is it because she's a wildling and she's terrified of the Southern King, or
I think because Selyse is so bitchy towards her, and that Stannis is a king, and I think she just is like, I'm getting out of here. I'm a wildling.
Not worthy. We're not worthy. She runs out.
Just don't hurt me.
Yeah, it's funny. So he walks in. You're Samwell Tarly? I am, your grace. Your father is Randall Tarly? And
I know your dad.
yeah, and their look of anxiety like shoots across Sam's face just at the mere mention of Randall, you know. And we learn a little bit about Randall here, that he defeated Robert at the Battle of Ashford, which is significant.
The only one.
Yeah. How crazy is that? The only battle that Robert's ever lost. So that tells you something about Randall Tarley's skill as a field commander. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And
he's clearly a strong leader. And probably a gruff man, you know, kind of like Stannis.
Oh, totally. Yeah. So Stannis obviously has a little bit of respect for him for that victory, because he also doesn't really like Robert. There was no love, like you said.
Yeah, he said that before.
Beloved brother, a lie, take it out, you know, type thing. So
one of my favorite moments of Stannis.
Yeah, and it also shows that Stannis is a competent battle commander as well, because he's like, I told Robert he shouldn't go so far west so soon, but he never listened. So he's like, fine soldier, your father. You don't look like a soldier. But I'm told you killed a White Walker. I did, your grace. You know, and he's asking like, how the fuck? Yeah. With a dagger made of dragon glass. Dragon glass. With the maester's coal, obsidian. I know what it is. We have it in Dragonstone.
Yes, and this is important. This is our first hint that there's a ton of dragon glass on Dragonstone, and it's such a great writing from the showrunner's perspective to just pop that in there, because that is something everybody, I can guarantee you, looked over the first time they watched it.
Damn, yeah, possibly, yeah. And it's planting seeds that'll be harvested in season 7, is it, when they're mining the dragon glass?
Yes.
Yeah, so when 2 years away, 2 full seasons later.
Sam, when they're like trying to find, because, you know, this is after like Hardhome and after all these like crazy White Walker battles, and he's trying to find like where they can farm the dragon glass, and he remembers that Stannis said this.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what gets Jon over to Dany. So this is, you know, that one little blurb, we have it on Dragonstone, like propels basically the climax of the 7th season, which is Dany and Jon getting it on.
Getting jiggy with it. Yeah.
So amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I mean, how incredible.
The importance of these tiny little lines scattered all throughout the show is just amazing. So Stannis is like, why would obsidian kill a White Walker? And Sam's like, I don't know. You know, I've been looking through all the old manuscripts trying to find something. And all I've learned is that the children of the forest used to hunt with dragonglass. And this is when Stannis reveals that the Lady Melisandre told him about the White Walkers, basically.
Yep.
The red woman told him that death marches on the wall. And I like the writing there. The prose is cool. Death marches on the wall. It just sounds super badass, right? And yes. Sam's like, I've seen it, you know? And
they walked right past me.
Yeah, the army of the dead. He's seen literally the army of the dead.
Yes.
And when they come, we have to know how to fight them. And then there's sort of a pause and keep reading, Samwell Tarly. I just fucking love that line. It's so cool.
Yes. Like, step up. This is your how you can contribute, because you're not a warrior.
Yeah, and like everybody wants validation for you know, their habits or their beliefs or whatever. And so Stannis is validating Sam's existence here, which is great. It's a good confidence booster for Sam, but it also is it's a compliment to Stannis as well, because we've seen how Stannis sees the value in Jon Snow. And now we're seeing that Stannis sees the value in both Jon and Sam, you know, which is really cool. And he basically is like unwittingly stumbled upon a veritable dream team at the wall, you know,
right?
Which is just so cool. So, I mean, Stannis is a great character, and having him meet up with Sam is just like something so like bizarre and unexpected. You wouldn't really imagine it to happen. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nailed it.
Yeah,
nailed it. Yeah, so that's the end of my number 2. I just love that scene.
Yeah, it's a good one for sure. And it's really important for the development of season 7 for sure.
Absolutely. So what's your number 1?
My number 1 is Valyria.
Nice. Yeah, my number 1 is Tyrion sees a dragon. So we can combine forces.
I love this cinematography and landscape of Valyria. It reminds me of like the Roman ruins. Mm-hmm. With the archways,
the aqueducts,
which is the first historical sign that the Valyrians were very advanced and intelligent and, you know, kind of beyond their years. And I know we posted this on the Facebook page, but that shot, I tried to get a good image of it. It's so hard to do. But when they pan out and the boat is kind of in the bottom part of your screen, they pan out to all the archways. Mm-hmm. You can see like, I would say maybe a dozen stone men sitting in those. Oh my God.
To the unsuspecting traveler, they might be gargoyles. You know what I mean?
I didn't even freaking notice them.
Yeah.
Like, not a clue until I saw an article that came out a couple of years ago, I want to say. And I was like, oh my God.
Becky.
So I went and put it on my TV and I watched it and I was like, I paused it and I counted. I'm like, oh my God, this is like a mind blown moment. To put that in, it just shows you how much detail the show does. Because that level of detail was probably looked over by most viewers.
Oh yeah, nobody knows
the first,
the
second,
first time.
third, 10th time you watch it, like. Mm-hmm. I had to be told about it to look at it. And it gave this scene a whole new meaning for me as far as the level of detail that goes into the show and what is about to happen to them, which is so ominous.
Yeah.
You know, like they're traveling towards this.
It's sort of exaggerated even because there's one shot where Tyrion looks up and it's the shot where he sees the dragon. There's a stone man in the foreground of the shot.
Yes.
But Tyrion is just so distracted by the dragon that he misses it entirely.
He's the one that jumps in the water.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. But there's a lot of stuff to talk about before we get there.
Yeah. So, we start out, they're on the boat and Tyrion is like, don't worry, I'll be fine. Nothing broken. Where are we now?
Long, sullen silences and the occasional punch in the face. The Mormont way.
Let's start over.
This doesn't have to be an unpleasant trip. We're going to be spending a lot of time together on the way to Meereen.
Jorah's still like giving him 2-word sentences. We are.
But he's agreeing, you know.
No wine.
They're getting there. yeah, we are. No wine. So funny. 2-word sentences.
I'm a person who drinks. People who drink need to keep drinking. Otherwise, they're not. And then we pan kind of over to an image of what they're going into, kind of a fog covered, very creepy looking area. And he goes, I know where we are. You're taking us through Valyria.
I am.
And when I first saw it, I was like, oh my goodness, they're in Valyria. Like, I wouldn't want to go to Valyria.
Right, the Doom. And Jorah's just like casual about it. I am. Have you sailed this route before? No. And what does he say? He's like japing about it. He's like, what, are you going to bring Dany a souvenir from her ancestral homeland in case I'm not enough? Like, what the fuck, man?
I think you'll be plenty. And then here we get some, myths of the world. You know what they say? The Doom still rules Valyria. What about the demons and the flames? Aren't you afraid of the Doom?
No. But the pirates are.
Tyrion's like, oh.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we're just hiding from the pirates. I got it, yeah.
Okay, that makes decent sense. So we're going to avoid one danger to go through another unknown danger.
Yeah, exactly. Then it cuts to the next scene where we're amidst the ruins.
Yes. Oh my God, the smoking sea.
And I love the wonder that Tyrion is sort of feeling here. How many centuries before we learn how to build cities like this again? And it makes me think of some real life examples of this type of thing where things that we've discovered from the ancient world that we're completely incapable of replicating today. Think about that for a second. There are things in the world that we've discovered that we are incapable of replicating today. The Giza Pyramid.
Yep.
Angkor Wat in Cambodia. Kailasa Temple. Have you ever heard of Kailasa Temple?
No, I haven't.
It's like right near Tibet, basically, near Mount Kailash. Okay. There's a giant mountain, and like a temple is built. It's not built. It's like somebody took a giant CNC milling machine and drilled out all of the rock, leaving the shape of this perfect, intricately, ornately carved temple with all these animals and elephants and just the most ridiculous shit carved right out of the mountain. And it's not small; it's huge, and it's like insane. I'll post a link to it on the Facebook because it's just so amazing. I would love to see that. And in like 300 BC or something, a guy commissioned a group of marauders to try to trash the temple. And they showed up with the hardest tools that they could find, and they spent like years trying to smash the temple, and were just incapable of doing it. Like the stone is so hard that, and this
like how could it be carved?
How could it even be carved? And to this level of precision, it's seemingly impossible. Nothing like it exists that we've ever been able to do. So nobody knows how it was built, who designed it, anything like that. It's just like this archaeological anomaly just sitting there that nobody even really knows about. Kailasa Temple, Kailasa, Kailasa Temple. Google it. It's really freaking cool.
Okay. Yeah. Let's post it to the Facebook page too, because that seems pretty awesome.
Yeah. So, he goes on, thousands of years, the Valerians were the best in the world at almost everything. And then, they weren't. And I love this part here with the poem that they sort of recite. I think we should do this as our last words.
Okay.
At the end.
Just the poem and just.
Yeah, we can do it now too. But it's just so cool. We can recite it at the end of the episode.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
Tyrion starts reciting this poem. They held each other close and turned their backs upon the end. The hills that split asunder, and the black that ate the skies. The flames that shot so high and hot that even dragons burned. Would never be the final sights that fell upon their eyes. A fly upon the wall, the waves the sea wind whipped and churned.
The city of 1,000 years, and all the men had learned. The doom consumed it all alike, and neither of them turned.
Oh man, like that is just so cool, right? Yeah. The writing, the prose again.
It's so beautiful, and it's a nice moment between the two of them because they connect. Because this poem is, like, if I'm not mistaken, a story, like part of a story that we're taught to young lords and ladies. Yeah, so it's like a poem that every nobleman knows. A lesson
of the learned, you could say.
Yes. Yeah, so they kind of connect that they're both from Westeros, from noble houses, and
not only that, but that they both paid attention, that they're both educated. Yes. Like not every noble lord listens to this type of shit. Sure. Jamie wouldn't remember the exact words of this poem. But Tyrion read and learned and listened and is interested in this type of stuff. So it's a moment where they're both realizing that they're both of more of an intellectual type of person, you could say, which is just it's a powerful way for them to connect.
Yes, absolutely.
And Tyrion's like, I would clap. He lifts up his hands like they're still bound. Untie me, please. And the fact that Jorah just smirks. And it's unfortunate because, it would have been helpful if he had actually untied him here, considering the attack that's about to happen.
And between their banter back and forth, as you get Jorah's point of view, you see behind Tyrion, other way around. from Tyrion's point of view, when he's talking to Jorah, you can see the stone men in the background.
Yup. And I think it's worth noting, too, as they're reading this poem, man, Ian Glenn has an amazing voice.
Yes.
When he finishes reciting that poem, it's just like, wow. Every time it's just his voice is just so powerful and like authoritative, and like he's just great at imparting that sense of mystery and like majesty and mystique. You know, it's just so cool. Great TV. This is good TV. Really, just genius writing and everything.
It's so funny. The actor that plays Jorah looks exactly like my uncle.
Oh, really? That's so funny.
Yes, it's so funny. So it's my aunt's new husband, and he's from Australia, so he has an accent too.
Ah, no way.
Yeah, so
That's
it's funny.
great.
Anytime I see Jorah on TV, I look at my husband, I'm like, is that Michael?
It's hilarious. So Tyrion's like, I suppose this is it then. This is what remains. And we're starting to get closer up views of the ruins. And the ruins sort of remind me of this ancient city off the coast of Micronesia called Nan Madol. And it's an abandoned city, a giant city made entirely out of pieces of basalt crystal.
Oh,
and,
what?
Yeah, and the locals don't fuck with it. They stay far away and they say it's haunted. So another just like cool little place. Like it's sort of like the Doom. Like no, people stay away from it. There's rumors about horrible things happening there, and the stone men and the ghosts and everything that Tyrion was just talking about a minute ago. Nan Madol is like the real world version of that, this ancient abandoned city.
I wonder if that was the inspiration for Valyria.
It could be. Probably one of many, I would say. But it's just cool. There's like, I love all of like the real life mysteries that are brought to my mind by this episode. Just so cool. And this is when, as you're saying, we start to see the stone men dotting the structure, blurred in the background as they approach, and easily could be mistaken for statues. And this is it. Jorah sees something, and Tyrion turns, and he sees it, a dragon. And he nearly leaps to his feet, and his face, and his...
Oh, it's such good acting. Oh my God.
Right?
Wonder and terror and awe.
It's like his whole life he's been having dreams about dragons and reading about dragons, and Tyrion, he almost has to be a Targaryen based on certain things that, like the dragon dreams, for instance, and his obsession with dragons. And I'm sure, I'm sure lots of people have them, but there's all kinds of little hints that Tyrion may be a Targaryen. And we've talked about the theory before. But Jorah's face, Tyrion's like, oh my God, this is fucking epic. Holy shit, are you guys seeing this? Oh my God, look at that. And Jorah just looks kind of a little nervous, like, yeah, I've always been cool with Drogon, but his mom is like kind of super pissed at me right now. So I don't know how Drogon would react if he saw me right at this moment. But, Jorah knows this dragon, so it's nothing like new for him. But seeing that makes him think of Dany, and he looks nervous.
I think he's also in awe as well of how big he's gotten, because he hasn't seen him for a long time.
Right, like, oh wow, he's really huge now.
Like huge, and he's like, it's a beaconing sign of Dany looming over his consciousness, his thoughts, and
yes, oh, that's a great way to put it too.
It's like, and now the closer he gets, she's getting even bigger in his mind, and then cue Drogon, who's just massive, and it's like, yep.
Yeah,
that's
and it's
what
like,
we're going back to.
Yeah, and Drogon is just there, and then he's just flies off and he's gone, and it's like Dany, these fleeting thoughts of her through his head, but then she's gone again,
Exactly.
So sad, Jorah.
Yeah.
And then as they pass through, all of a sudden, plop.
What was that?
You hear that? Ravens? No. Oh no, it's stone men.
No, it's stone men.
Don't let them touch you.
touch you.
And it's like Jorah is simultaneously trying to protect his cargo that he's delivering that may mean good graces again with Dany, but it's also like kind of his new buddy that they just, did we just become best friends? Remember Step Brothers?
Yes.
If you could sleep with one guy, who would it be? John Stamos.
Yes. And it also reminds me, I know you're not a basketball guy, but it reminds me when Kevin Durant signed with the Golden State Warriors, there's this meme of him hugging Steph Curry, and there's a little bubble above him that says, did we just become best friends?
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah. I love references to Step Brothers are great.
Yeah.
You want to go do karate in the garage? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a hilarious video of me and my sister doing that bit on what was that app that was funny for a few minutes where they have all these audio files and you like act out the video to go with the audio. I can't remember what it was called.
Oh, I have no idea.
It was cool. I'll post that too because it's pretty funny.
Nice. Well, that was my number one. So your number one
was Seeing the Dragon, but there's more to talk about here too.
Yeah.
So we start to see the Stone Men. We've heard about them before. We've heard about how they get banished to Valyria and how they're not like quite normal anymore. So it's like as the grayscale starts to set in, first it affects your extremities and then it starts spreading to your core and then it starts to affect your brain. And your brain starts to like calcify or something and you become more animalistic as the outer layers of your brain stop working and it's only like the core,
the primal
reptilian primal, inner brain that's active. So they're like like just attacking and hunting and like, they're like rage filled. So they're jumping on the boat and Jorah's fighting them and Tyrion's like just trying to escape and his hands are cut. Yeah. And eventually Tyrion is this one zombie, I almost said, this one stone man is like getting closer and closer to Tyrion and Tyrion's climbing over the little seats on the boat and everything.
He's like screaming at him. He's like, Mormont!
Mormont! Yeah, and then eventually he falls into the water and it could be worse, right? Until the hand reaches up and grabs him, kind of like the hand reaching out of the ground that grabbed Jojen.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of similar to that. And the Stone Man, I don't know, like they all sort of plopped into the water and then climbed onto the boat. But this one is just sinking. And he just drags Tyrion right down with him. And what a terrifying concept.
Maybe that one was sinking because he's farther gone than the other ones. I wonder if they get heavier.
Like, I'm sure you're right.
So maybe that's why he was sinking. So he grabbed Tyrion to pull him down. And
maybe he like just didn't have a breath in his lungs when he got in the water or something too. You know what I mean? Who knows? Either way, he's sinking and drags Tyrion down with him. And man, for book readers, this was a particularly traumatic moment because on the show, the next thing we see is Tyrion's eyes blinking open and a beach. But in the books, George had to fucking torture us. And this is the end of the chapter as Tyrion sinks. So you're left thinking Tyrion is dead for a number of chapters until you get to the next Tyrion chapter and he wakes up on the beach. But yeah, I'm sure that was a moment that had people like, the equivalent of throwing your game controller through the TV, like throwing the books out, like breaking windows or something.
Come on.
Yeah, just burning their books and everything. Just a torturous moment. I just love that battle raging on the little boat with the stone men and everything, and Tyrion's desperately scrambling about. So funny. So then Tyrion wakes up on the shore. Thank fuck that Tyrion is alive. Man, imagine if Tyrion died there.
No, I couldn't.
No, exactly. No.
So, the answer is no.
Yeah. And Jorah, like you can see how concerned he is. Tyrion, and kind of slapping him a little bit, and he wakes up. Oh, you're all right. And it's like you can really see how Jorah seems to care for Tyrion at this point. And it's like how that single moment of shared intellect really formed a connection between them and sort of brought them together in a way that I don't think either of them expected.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
It was pleasantly received for both of them, I think, as well. Like they both sort of started to really like respect each other.
Like, oh, you remembered this too.
Yeah, like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. Like there's more to you than I thought there was, Jorah, type thing.
Yeah.
And you can also see another thing that signifies that Jorah is starting to care about Tyrion is that he's referring to him by his first name.
Oh, that's true.
It's like personal. He's like Tyrion, he's not like imp or, something like that.
I think this is the first time he said his name, actually.
Yeah, totally is. Totally. And it reminds me of that scene in the bathhouse with Jaime and Brienne.
Yes.
Where they have that moment where they connect and he collapses into her arms and she's screaming for help, someone help, help the Kingslayer, and he's just like, Jaime, my name is Jaime, and from then on they're like on a first name basis type thing. And that's what just happened with Tyrion and Jorah here, like a traumatic event where Tyrion is in Jorah's arms, essentially, just like Jaime was in Brienne's arms, trying to save him as they're like, as he is almost drowning in the bathtub, and as Tyrion just almost drowned in the Valyrian River here.
Yeah, a lot of parallels. Good catch. I didn't even think of that. Pretty
cool. Like I'm just right now on the spot, I'm thinking of that, and it's also funny that Jorah like. Just like they lost the boat. It's just gone. Oh,
yeah, they're going to have to walk.
Yeah, Jorah just dives out. He's like, saving Tyrion is more important. Like, we'll figure the rest out when we can.
Yeah.
And he really puts everything on the line here because as we come to learn, Jorah asks Tyrion, did any of them touch you? He's like, no. You? And Jorah shakes his head, but
doesn't answer.
It doesn't answer. He says, I've seen grayscale before, but nothing like that. And fucking poor Jorah, man, as if, shit wasn't bad enough for him, being banished by the woman he loves and
exiled from Westeros, exiled from Marine,
losing his first love as well, who he fought so hard to try to keep. His whole story is just tragedy. And then now on top of it all, he walks off and pulls up his sleeve, and we see that he is contaminated with grayscale.
Yeah, so sad.
It's so sad. It's so fucking sad. I love Jorah, man. I really like the Jorah character.
Me too.
Yeah, it's sad. There's a couple other interesting lines here too. We sort of skipped ahead to the reveal, but he says he's never seen grayscale like that, and Tyrion says that, and Jorah's like, I suppose that's why they send them here, and Tyrion says it would be kinder to put daggers in their hearts and be done with it.
Ugh.
Right, and so that's sort of calling back to Shireen and how, instead of putting a dagger in her heart or sending her to Valyria, Stannis tried really hard to do everything and ended up, saving her, which is fucking awesome. But it calls back to Jon's line to Tormund earlier about a fate worse than death, alluding to becoming a white. This is a similar type of fate, losing your body and your mind and being doomed to an existence of insanity for the rest of your life. Very similar type of thing, being a zombie in the grips of madness for all eternity, or losing your mind to grayscale and being doomed to be
reverting back to these animalistic primal.
Yeah. So sort of parallels here between whites and grayscale and the insanity that results for them. And Tyrion thanks Jorah for saving him, and Jorah just kind of winces, knowing the cost that the result, losing the boat, contracting grayscale himself. And Tyrion has a funny line, though. Of course, I wouldn't have needed saving if you hadn't kidnapped me in the first place. Yeah. So what now? So they decide they're going to be walking, and with any luck, they'll find a fishing village with another boat or something. And without luck,
we've got a long walk.
Yeah, they don't even want to think about it, really. You got to start making some preparations. I'm going to go get some wood, basically, Jorah says. And that's when he shows us that he has grayscale. Really sad.
Yeah.
And sad music plays. And I like how the cinematography is at this moment, as it's revealed before he pulls up his sleeve. It's sort of a solemn shot of him looking out over the doom and then looking down at his own doom and the ruins of Valyria and the squandering of the potential of and the glory of everything that it could have been and everything that it was and all of its potential. It's mirroring Jorah's own doom here as his own future is being squandered and cut short in its prime by the onset of grayscale.
And he's going to be like, I think he's looking at his future too, because he's been exiled from Westeros. He's been exiled from Meereen.
Yeah. Like the Stone Men are exiled to Valyria. The
Stone Men are exiled to Valyria. And he's like, fuck.
That's almost a foreshadow of him getting it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's like, God damn it.
Yeah. So yeah.
God damn it, Bobby.
Damn it, Bobby. Anything else you want to add about this scene?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Yeah, I think we can just add that the makeup is pretty good on Jorah's arm here. And I'm wondering if it's actually makeup or if it's all digital.
Well, I know that the Stone Men it's makeup.
Right. Yeah, so it's got to be makeup. And I think you can see like the skin sort of like pulling around the edge of the makeup, like this,
like a prosthetic almost.
Yeah, but it's perfect for it because it's like the formation of the grayscale is it's like hardening, drying, and
I want to put some lotion on it.
Yeah, it's like pulling all the rest of the skin around it. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. So yeah.
All right.
Pretty much it.
We still have some notes.
Yes, we do. What's your next note?
My next note is Jon and Ollie.
All right.
So Jon's in his chambers and Ollie comes in with his food and Jon goes, "Thank you. Ollie, if you have something you want to say to me, say it. It's all right." And Ollie's like, "You don't mean it, do you? Telling the wildlings to make peace.
Mm-hmm.
You're just doing it to trick them." And Jon's like, "Oh, fuck. It's not a trick."
Yeah.
It's sorry, dude.
Yeah,
like
sorry,
I know what they did basically, but like,
you're not looking at the big picture, little kid.
It's but poor Ollie, it's like they burned my village. They put an arrow through my father's head right in front of me. They butchered my mother, everyone I ever knew.
I know what it's like to lose people you love. I know this is hard for you, but winter is coming. We know what's coming with it. We can't face it alone.
And then Ollie just looks at him like, "You asshole." And so he goes, "Will there be anything else you need, Lord Commander?"
Yeah. So pissed. Fuck.
And Jon's like, "No,
yeah.
Get out."
The bottom line here is that Jon has transcended the whole plane of thought that most people are trapped in. He sees the big picture and has, put all of this in a perspective that other people just aren't quite capable of understanding yet at this point.
Yeah.
There's also in the scene right before that, there's a couple good lines that were worth mentioning. He says to Dolorous Ed after he speaks out about how the wildlings killed Gran and Pip, he says, "We can learn to live with the wildlings, or we can add them to the army of the dead. Whatever they are now, they're better than that," which is just a great line because
it's amazing.
It's the first time where he explains that, if we don't take in the wildlings and help them, you might as well just add them to the dead army. They're going to be killed and they're going to be reanimated as whites.
We're going to have to fight them if they become undead.
Yeah.
If we let them through and we end up having to fight them, at least they die.
Yeah, we need them on our side instead of their side. If we don't pick them on our team, the other team's going to pick them first, Basically. Yeah, it's fucked up. Yeah, so I just like that line that this is the first time we realize that Jon understands that they will be army, part of the dead army, and we see it happen at Hardhome. all the people that they couldn't save, that Night King walks to that dock, raises his arms, and they all rise, and they are in the army of the dead at that point. So Jon is totally right. We can learn to live with them, or we can add them to the army of the dead, and we see it happen.
Yep, absolutely.
What's your next notes?
My next notes are the spies of Winterfell,
Ooh.
which is Pod and Brienne.
Nice. I like how you called them the spies of Winterfell, because in the book, there's a chapter called The Ghost of Winterfell, and it's from Theon's perspective.
Oh,
so
really?
There's the spies of Winterfell, like you just said, and then there's the ghost of Winterfell,
Oh, cool.
and then there's the bastard of Winterfell. You know, there's all these things of Winterfell.
Winterfell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're kind of in this inn, and Podrick's noting that she's far away from the Lannisters. This is her home. Maybe Lady Sansa is better off here. And Brienne's like, better off with the Boltons,
Yeah.
who murdered her mother and brother.
Point taken.
Sansa's in danger, even if she doesn't realize it. And I think after Sansa's interaction earlier with Theon and what's his face, Ramsay, I think she's starting to get a whiff of that she is in more danger than maybe she originally suspected.
Totally.
And Brienne looks up at the guy who comes in, and she's like, "Have you lived here a long time?" Did you know Lord Eddard?
I knew him and his father before him. Starks are gone now.
Not all of them. I know who's inside that castle.
Everyone knows. The Boltons.
I'm not talking about the Boltons. Sorry. I'm not talking about the Boltons. I need to get a message to her, to Sansa Stark.
He's like, who are you? Like, what the fuck?
Someone who swore to keep her safe.
Yeah. I like this guy's performance here. Like, he sort of smiles when he's asking, who are you? And it's like, oh man, like maybe this is a good person to have here. Like, he's intrigued by this, Yeah, no one.
So he goes, her mom's dead. And Brienne's like, well, that doesn't release me from the oath I, said to Catelyn.
I serve her still.
And then she goes, who do you serve?
Right.
Like,
epic.
making sure. And yeah, so we know now that this man is tied to this old lady somehow, because he's the one that gives her the instructions to tell Sansa.
Exactly,
because she can infiltrate Sansa's chambers.
Yep, that's the message that Brienne wants to get to Sansa.
That's right. That's right.
The candle in the window, which will
get the candle in the window.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's I love Brienne and Podrick. What are you gonna do?
Totally. So next we get a naked Miranda by the window, and she is pissed at
she's jelly.
Ramsay. Yeah, she's so pissed at Ramsay for just like staring at her and at Sansa. And Ramsay's like, well, I'm going to marry her. That will involve looking at her from time to time, which is a great line. And Miranda's all butthurt because previously Ramsay had said that he would marry her, but that was when he was a bastard named Snow. And now what he says, what I want is no longer the primary consideration. He's furthering a dynasty, which he's
so proud of.
He's super
like the
proud
way
of it.
he says it. He's like, I'm furthering my dynasty.
Yeah, and he's stoked about it, like marrying Sansa, being a Bolton, but he's playing it off like it's not his choice. Like he's been thrust into this, and he, it's not his choice. He can't marry Miranda now. She's like, do you think she's pretty? And he's like, yeah, I'm not blind.
He totally scoffs at her. He's like, of course I do.
Yeah, and she jerks her head away, like all mad, and he's like, you think she's pretty too? It's kind of funny. And he's like, I'm looking forward to our wedding night, which is fucking gross considering we know what happens. That means that like the whole like thing was like premeditated, which makes it even more disgusting.
Yeah. Like the whole watching Reek look and watch.
Yeah.
And
just
all
like
that
the whole
shit.
Forced, everything.
Disgusting.
Yeah. So, he's like, but don't worry, I'll have plenty of time for you. So she's like trying to make him jealous, like, well, maybe I'll get married too. And he's like, Kennel Master's daughter? Yeah, good luck, bitch. And she tries to like hit him, but he restrains her and decides to, have his way with her instead. But first, she goes to hit him, and he's like, "You're mine. You're not going anywhere, unless I have to listen to more of your jealousy. Jealousy bores me. You know what happens to people who bore me." And
Tansy?
Yeah, Tansy, exactly. "You're not going to bore me, are you, Miranda?" And this is like one of the creepiest lines of manipulations I've ever seen on screen, I think. Like, super fucking creepy.
Yeah.
And she seems scared, but also highly motivated. And so she kisses him and bites his lip bloody. And that's not boring for Ramsay.
No, he gets all like wild-eyed. He's like, "I'm gonna fuck the shit out of you now."
Yeah, he likes that shit. And she's like, "Never, I won't bore you." And what a freakish relationship these two have, huh?
Oh my God.
Yeah, she's lucky he didn't like throw her out the window.
I know, right?
Yeah, but she took a chance and it paid off because she's still in his good graces. Yeah, totally.
I think it also foreshadows his death because he gets bit in the face by dogs.
Yeah, totally. Oh,
and she's
yeah,
the
that's
Kennel
so
Master's
funny.
daughter.
The Kennel Master's daughter bites him, and then it's the dogs that bite him. Oh, that's that's awesome. Good pickup there.
Yeah, thanks.
Nice. So then we're in Sansa's
So now we
chambers.
get the candle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The woman walks in and she comes under the guise of filling the wash basin, but what she really wants to do is pass on the message saying, "You still have friends in the north. If you're ever in trouble, just light a candle in the highest window of the broken tower. But who? You're not alone." And she walks out, and poor woman ends up being flayed, like you mentioned, right?
I know. And he even says, she fought like the whole way until her, just till her heart gave out.
Oh God, I forgot about that. So fucked up.
She was stubborn. He goes, "We breed him, we breed him strong here in the north," or something like that.
Oh God.
It's horrible.
So twisted.
The next one I have is Fat Walda's pregnant and Ramsay and Roos's conversation. How can you be sure?
How did you manage it? Manage what? Getting her pregnant.
I imagine you're familiar with the procedure. The procedure.
Of course. But how did you find it?
Oh my God.
Oh man.
That's so bad.
And Roose shows how pissed he is here. You disgraced yourself at dinner, parading that creature before the Stark girl.
Yeah. And he just doesn't even like acknowledge it. He goes, "And if it's a boy?"
Right. You're worried about your position.
"My position is quite clear. I'm your son until a better alternative comes along."
And this is when Roose gets all fucking creepy and decides to tell, unlike Ned, who never got to tell Jon about his mother, Roose gets to tell this legitimized bastard about his mother.
Yeah.
But he's like, "You never asked me about your mother." And this shows what a total sociopath Ramsay is. He's just like, "Why would I? She had me, she died, and here we are." It's just like no sense of human connection whatsoever.
No, not at all.
Total sociopath. So Roose goes into the story of how she was a peasant girl, pretty in a common sort of way. She was the miller's wife and she got married without his consent. And so he had the husband hanged and he raped her beneath the tree where he was swaying, which is fucking brutal.
What the hell?
That's so fucked up. Like, yeah, so she fought him the whole time and she was lucky he didn't hang her. And a year later, she came to the gates with a squalling baby in her arms. And he's lucky she didn't come to the gates with a fucking sharpened spear in her arms. You know what I mean?
Fuck.
Like, yeah, I would have, if somebody did some shit like that to me, that's crossbowed on the privy type thing. You know what I mean?
Seriously.
Yeah. So, sort of similarly to Tywin, he nearly had her whipped and the child thrown in the river, but he looked at Ramsay and saw what he sees now. And I'm like, what, a freak show? This is the biggest mistake of Roose Bolton's entire life. Like Tywin, who wanted to let the water carry Tyrion away, they both decided to let their sons live, and they both end up being killed by their sons.
Yes, they do. That's right.
Super, super hardcore. So just like Tywin has said to Tyrion on certain occasions and contradicted himself on others. Yeah, you are my son. Right?
It's like that's like a total foreshadow too, that Bolton's going to get it.
Yep, totally. So he's going on to say, Stannis has an army at Castle Black. They're not going to stay there. He wants the Iron Throne. They got to go south to get it, and they're going to pass Winterfell. He obviously means to take the north. So we don't want that to happen. It's yours and mine. Will you help me defeat him, basically? And this is Roos's MO, his modus operandi for manipulating Ramsay. He builds him up, and then he threatens his status and place in the food chain, basically, in the line of succession for the lordship of the Dreadfort, and uses the ensuing stress to manipulate Ramsay into doing his bidding. He's done it like throughout the story.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This is like his MO. So Ramsay's just like, yes, I'll do whatever you say, father.
Whatever you want me to do.
Just keep me as your heir.
I will flay anybody.
Yeah, totally. You want me to whack a guy, off a guy, whack off a guy? Because I'm married. Again. I love that quote.
Oh man.
So what's next?
Stannis's departure from Castle Black.
It's time.
Shouldn't we wait?
Davos is carving that piece of wood, which has a poignant significance.
Yes, the stag.
Yeah, for Shireen.
For Shireen, which he finds later.
Yeah, next to the burned pyre,
That's
basically.
Right.
Partially charred itself. Oh, man.
This Davos is basically in this part trying to get Stannis to agree to leave the women behind at Castle Black, and he'll choose a dozen men to stay on their guard, to guard the queen and the princess.
I wonder if he already has a bad feeling about Shireen going south, or if he just thinks in general it would be safer for her to stay.
I think he just thinks in general it's safer for them to stay because the conditions are going to be super bad going down there.
Totally.
and they're going down to fight. So like there's going to be battles, and like if they captured Shireen,
it could be real bad.
It could be really bad for her safety and the succession of Stannis's house, because like it or not, she's his only heir.
Right.
So, I think Davos is thinking like, Castle Black isn't the greatest place for a queen and a princess, but it's sure as hell better than a military camp, like in the snow with dangerous people all around them.
It's a tough road ahead, Your Grace. Wouldn't they be safer here? Half these watchmen are killers and rapists. No, they march with us.
Yeah.
And that's like a total red herring to divert us from the actual danger that Shireen is facing when heading south, making us think that, Castle Black is a dangerous place.
Yeah, she may get raped at Castle Black, but if she goes with you guys, she's going to get burned at the stake.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we cut over to Shireen on the horse, and she goes, do you think Father will let me go down to the crypt? And Davos is like, what?
Beg your pardon?
At Winterfell, all the kings of the north are buried there. Bran the Builder and King Dorne and...
I love how she's like a history buff and like loves this type of thing.
Yeah, she like knows everything.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It's cute. And so Davos is like, first things first, it's a long march. We have to take the castle. And she's like, is there going to be a battle?
Like you were saying, yeah, there's going to be battles and stuff. And
yeah,
he's like, yeah, that's kind of what I'm afraid of. You don't want to be anywhere near that little, honey. You just stay away, please.
Yeah. And Selyse, she's so
rank.
Blah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Just the worst.
That's enough talk of battle, Sir Davos. You'll scare the child.
Yes,
so
my queen.
This is interesting because Stannis refers to her as the princess. Davos refers to her as the princess. Her mom in the past has referred to her as a princess. But in this instance, she says, you'll scare the child.
Interesting.
So we see that she's detaching herself
Oh,
from
yeah.
Khaleesi, being her daughter, being a princess, being related to her.
Yeah, exactly. It's a sort of psychological, like a hint to her psychology, and it shows the exact opposite of what's happened with Tyrion and Jorah, where now it's a first name basis. Here it's the opposite. Like you said, more detachment, less personal, the child as opposed to the princess.
Or my daughter, or
yeah, so nice mirroring of the Jorah stuff.
Yeah, or even the girl, would have been like the child. It's like that's as generic as you can get.
Yeah, totally.
And Shireen's like, I'm not scared. And Davos is so cute. Well, when the battle comes, promise you'll protect me.
Yeah, I love their little back and forths.
And then
Such a
we
cute
get
relationship.
Stannis and Jon depart, saying their goodbyes, and Stannis in his normal fashion, he's like, I better get my damn ships back.
Mm-hmm.
And Jon's like, you'll get them back, I swear it. Have a safe journey, Your Grace, and thank you. And I thought the thank you was so, oops, sorry, almost dropped my paper. His thank you was so sincere, because he's thanking him for the boats, but he's also thanking him because he's about ready to go down and try to take Winterfell back.
Right. Totally. Like, thank you for doing this for my family.
Thank you for doing this for me and my family.
And thank you for even offering him to be, to rise as Lord of Winterfell. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like he has a lot to be thankful for with Stannis.
Yeah, totally.
It's a great little moment.
I also like how, like you mentioned that line, promise me you'll protect me, when Davos says that to Shireen. I love how he makes her feel powerful.
Yes.
Like talking about how she's smart and like, how she teaches the older folks and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's just a great dynamic. But
yeah.
Jon says you'll get the ships back. I swear it, right? Except he will never have the opportunity to take the ships back because he dies, right? So it's free ships for Jon. And I just thought of the parallel between the siege of Storm's End and the famine that Stannis' hosts faced as they marched south here.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So Stannis,
the
obviously,
second time he's kind of faced this problem.
Exactly. So I think that his PTSD that resulted from the siege at Storm's End creates a sort of sense of desperation during this siege that makes him more erratic and willing to go to intense measures and extreme lengths to try to attract good fortune for his troops. So basically what I'm saying is that the PTSD probably may be one of the influences that pushes him to go to the lengths of burning Shireen.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't want to go there again.
Right. He doesn't want to go through that whole experience again. I feel like if the siege of at Storm's End had never happened, that maybe it would have been more difficult to convince Stannis to sacrifice his daughter, very sadly.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Oh, so brutal.
Yeah.
So this is the last that Jon and Stannis will ever see each other. And as they ride off, Mel and Jon make eye contact, which is kind of funny.
She's like, I'm going to get you.
Yeah. And and then she rides off immediately preceding following Stannis. And there's just a really beautiful shot of the whole army sort of heading south along a narrow path next to the wall. Just really cool shot. I like that a lot.
Me too. I noted that as well.
Nice.
With the long line of armies marching.
Yeah.
It's eerie.
Mm-hmm. So what do you got next?
I have Grey Worm awakes.
Nice. Startled awake.
Yes. And he's freaking out. He's trying to get up. And Missandei is like, no, lay back down. You're still too weak.
He's like, how the fuck long have I been here?
3 days.
And the first thing he does is asks about Sir Barristan.
Batman. And she just shakes her head like, no, I'm sorry.
I love how she's stayed here with him too, and she obviously loves him so much. She's just waiting for him, like Ghost waiting for Jon when he's dead. You know, like he curls up at the edge of the table, like loyal.
So, and he's like, Grey Worm's like, "Fuck! I failed him. I failed my men. I failed my queen."
Poor Grey Worm.
Missandei's like, "What are you talking about? You didn't fail anybody. You fought really bravely. You'll fight again." And she's like, "Are you ashamed? You know."
Yeah, you were outnumbered, ambushed. There's no way you could have known.
No, this is not why. Wounded in war, there's no shame for this. I'm ashamed because when the knife go in and I fall to the ground, I am afraid.
All men fear death.
No, not death. I fear I never see Missandei from the island of Noth. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, such a powerful message that Grey Worm faces death, and all he can think about is Missandei. It's, you know, easily one of the most romantic moments in the series.
And she like gets and cuddles in bed with him, and I'm like, oh, that's cute.
You can like feel the pain emanating off of Missandei as she loves him so much, and she's so happy that he loves her too, but she's also so sad that they may not be able to conventionally express their love for one another, you know. But
yes,
you know,
physically at least.
There's like a sort of underlying tension that's present in all of their scenes revolving around that obstacle, you could say. But it's such a powerful scene showing how the power of love can overcome any obstacle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
it's a good one.
Lies down with him and caresses his face, you know.
And they snuggle.
Yep, beautiful moment.
So then we get Missandei and Dany.
Nice.
So Missandei is like, "You've given the masters what they deserve." And Dany makes a good point. If I give everyone what they deserve, I won't have a single person left to rule.
They all deserve to die.
You know, we come to see that Sir Barristan counseled mercy, and he basically counseled her that until the morning that he died. Dario thinks I should kill everybody, kill the masters, and let the city fend for themselves and basically go into civil war. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "What do you think?"
Yep. Another great leadership aspect about Dany, that she's willing to listen to everybody, small or large, you know, no matter who they are. Everybody's opinion makes a difference. Everybody has a different perspective and value. And it's just really cool. And it's sort of, it's much like Stannis recognizing the value in Sam. Dany recognizes the value in Missandei.
Yeah, we start seeing how trusted Missandei is becoming to Dany as far as, you know, her growth as a leader. Right.
She knows how incredibly smart she is, 17 languages, all of this experience and things, and she decides it's time to include her.
She's been a slave herself.
Yeah.
And now she's freed and in a fairly, I don't want to say powerful position, but she's basically a part of Dany's small council. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty powerful position.
Really powerful position.
She has the queen's ear. That's powerful.
And as we learn now, not only does she have the queen's ear, she is capable of having an influence.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's like, "I don't think I'm fit to have an opinion on this. Like, this is like way out of my pay grade."
She's like, you're fucking delusional. You're as fit as anybody I know. You know why I'm here. And you know who will suffer the most if this all falls apart. So, like, what do you think? It's awesome.
And I love Missandei's response because we've talked about this in previous episodes. I've seen you listen to your counselors. I've seen you lean on their experience. And when you felt like your own was lacking, and weigh the choices put before you. But I've also seen you ignore your counselors because there was a better choice, one that only you could see.
Love that line. Like, that's obviously referring to like the Drogon trade. You know, nobody else saw that option except Dany. The most clever scheme. Like, so cool.
And also in season 7 with the loot train battle, everyone, like, so she has Tyrion saying, "Don't use your dragons. You have Jon echoing, don't use your dragons, because it's more of the same. If you're going to burn the cities to the ground, that's basically what Dany wants to do. Just go in and roast King's Landing.
Right.
So she weighs the options and she finds a better way. She's going to just focus her attack on the military of King's Landing right before they get into the city and annihilate the true threat, which is the military, not the commoners of King's Landing.
Exactly.
So it's a great scene between the two of them.
Yeah, and it really Missandei just really nails Dany's her MO and style of leadership, and her unique capabilities that she has, her unique vision as a leader, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. So that's all I have for my notes.
Same here. All right, stick with us, guys. We'll be right back after a short break. That's Keep Going by Pold. Check them out at soundcloud.com/pold-music. And we're back with news about Game of Thrones. First from Cinema Blend. Okay, so Game of Thrones doesn't have actual dragons in it. By Britt Lawrence. As it turns out, Daenerys' fairly iconic dragons on Game of Thrones are not technically dragons.
What?
Yes, you read that correctly. Did you know this, Rachel, already?
No.
Oh, really? Well, you're about to learn.
Okay.
Based on the attributes that are regularly known to be specific to the creatures, Daenerys does not have even one, let alone multiple dragons. The reason? It's all in the legs. Dragons are supposed to have 6 appendages, with 4 legs and a pair of wings. For example, look at How to Train Your Dragons Toothless. Dany's pets/children, on the other hand, have only 2 legs, which makes Drogon, Rhaegal, and Viserion something completely different. Wyverns. In parentheses, completely may be a bit of a strong word there. While constantly referred to as a dragonly matriarch, it turns out that Daenerys is more legitimately the mother of wyverns, which is funny. Let's face it, though, that still has a certain ring to it.
It does.
So yeah, basically wyverns are, they're like, you could say that they're like a subcategory of dragons. But yeah, just with 2 back legs, and their front legs are their wings, whereas other dragons have 4 legs plus wings. So just an interesting distinction to make. And
definitely.
Yeah, it's funny. The author of this article wrote about it like it's like somebody just pointed it out on Reddit like last week. You know what I mean? But obviously people have known this since the books came out. Like people who know what wyverns are and people who know what dragons are already knew this, but I just thought it was kind of a funny thing, and that it was worth pointing out.
I like the 2-leg version because they look more animal, like aviary, like animals, Right, yeah. They're like more remindful of birds. Yeah, because like most birds only have 2 legs, So
yeah, and 2 arms.
I was going to be like, most birds. I'm like, wait, all birds.
Oh, and just so that listeners know, I've been meaning to talk about this for a while on the show, but the first thing you hear on the podcast, the little kooky sound that plays, is a recording of my bird Loki, who is our show's mascot. And if you look at the end of the show notes before Knock 2 Studios, it says Loki approved for every episode.
Yes, Loki. He hides in your sweatshirt, and it's so funny.
Yeah, that's referring to Loki. But I've decided that as the mascot of Game of Microphones, I'm going to start referring to him as my dragon.
Awesome.
Or wyvern, I guess.
Wyvern. Does he breathe fire?
I certainly hope not. I'll be roasting my ear off.
Oh, he's so cute.
Yeah, love Loki.
Next, we have an article from Mental Floss. George R.R. Martin says some Game of Thrones fans have correctly guessed how it ends. Ooh, by Natalie Zamora. It has been well over a year since we've seen a new episode of Game of Thrones, and fans are getting restless. In the 16 months since the 7th season ended, viewers have been rewatching old episode, rereading George R.R. Martin's books, listening closely for any season 8 spoilers from the cast and crew, and concocting all sorts of theories about how it will end. Some of them are more plausible than others.
Yeah.
With so many fan theories out there, it was only a matter of time before someone correctly guessed the ending. And Martin has confirmed that some fans have done just that, at least when it comes to the books. Back in 2014, while speaking at an Edinburgh International Book Festival, Martin admitted that several fan theories have been directly in line with his own planned ending for Game of Thrones. So many readers were reading the books with so much attention that they were throwing up some theories, and while some of those theories were amusing bullshit and creative, some of the theories are right, Martin said. At least one or two readers had put together the extremely subtle and obscure clues that I planted in the books and came to the right solution.
I love that he plants clues. Like, that's just a cool thing about his style of writing, that there's intentional obscure clues. A lot of writers probably don't necessarily
we have
do that.
it all. We have a ton of it on Dragonstone.
Yeah.
Like, that's the key to like killing the freaking Night King.
Totally.
And we, it was just like said in passing in this episode. You see, the ending is sitting right there, just waiting to be discovered by anyone who can invest the time to rereading the books and analyzing even the tiniest details, or listening to Game of Microphones. Just kidding. It doesn't say that. Again, Martin was talking about the ending of his A Song of Ice and Fire book series, not the HBO series. And while they could be one and the same, the television show could also deviate from what Martin is planning.
Can't wait to see what happens.
Nice. Yes.
Next, from remezcla.com, remezcla.com. Game of Thrones will reportedly film an alternative finale in Mexico's Castillo de Chapultepec by Adriana Catano. In 2019, Game of Thrones will come to an end. Game of Microphones will not, though.
No.
As we await the 8th and final season and speculate about who will be there until the very end, there's now reports that the production will head to Mexico City. According to El Universal, the HBO show is filming an alternative ending for the show in Castillo de Chapultepec. And if you've seen the show, you'll know this splendorous location fits the bill. Plus, if it's where Daenerys Targaryen ends up, her dragons will have plenty of space to roam around. I'm not familiar with Castillo de Chapultepec, so I'm going to have to look this up because it sounds pretty
me too.
BA.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. The outlet reports that the show's Twitter account confirmed the news with a tweet that read, "Mexico City, here we go. Winter is coming to you." However, the message appears to have been deleted.
Ooh. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, exactly. But as the outlet reports, trucks bearing the HBO logo have begun unloading equipment in the area, and parts of the Bosque de Chapultepec have been blocked off for the crew. The scenes are expected to be filmed between this week and the next.
Wow. You know what they might be doing is throwing people off.
Right.
And they may be filming it somewhere else, because why the hell would they bring HBO labeled trucks down there? Like, you're asking for it.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
Versus like...
It's impossible to tell what's real and what's fake with this.
Yeah, interesting. It might be the show, like, throwing it off.
Yeah, even spoilers that leak might be bullshit. So while I've been searching for news, I've seen a couple things that I've been like, fuck, I wish I didn't see that, Not pictures, but just like text on.
I know.
In the name of the articles.
I want to help you with news, but I'm too afraid. I'm so afraid.
Right. But it's like, why would Google allow in the news results spoilers to come up for a show like that? If I was at Google, I would boot that shit off the first search results that show up.
Yeah.
I would show news and not things that like HBO is intentionally trying to preserve as proprietary. You know what I mean? Fuck Google. Moving on to Game of Thrones and history. From Time.com, continuing from last week, 9 books to read about the real history behind Game of Thrones by Sarah Begley.
The Queen's Bed, An Intimate History of Elizabeth's Court by Anna Whitelock. Many Game of Thrones fans have compared Daenerys Targaryen to Elizabeth I, a fierce, independent queen who preferred ruling alone to giving up her power to a husband. Both also had to break ties with a close ally, Daenerys exiling her spying advisor Jorah Mormont, and Elizabeth executing her treasonous pal Robert Devereux. Whitelock documents Elizabeth's lover and ladies-in-waiting who had front row seats to the Queen's rule, much like Daenerys's posse.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Next is Joan of Arc, A History by Helen Castor. Joan of Arc and Brienne of Tarth share 2 signature traits, a love of armor and an unflinching commitment to their ideals. Let's just hope Brienne's story doesn't end at the stake.
Let's hope not.
Yeah, seriously.
Next, we have Glencoe, The Infamous Massacre of 1692 by John Sadler. The horrific Red Wedding has roots in the massacre of Glencoe in 1692, when the 38 members of the clan MacDonald were killed by their own guests over a tardy pledge of allegiance to William and Mary.
Brutal.
The killings constituted a serious transgression against the rules of hospitality, both in the real world and the Seven Kingdoms. Martin says he also took inspiration from the Black Dinner when the Earl of Douglas was killed after being invited to dine with the King of Scotland.
Pretty balls out. Interesting.
Wow.
William and Mary. That was my grandparents' names.
Oh, really? That's
my
awesome.
mom's parents. You hear that?
What was that?
Sir Matthew of House Repp. Some great wisdom from Maester Aemon in this episode. First, he tells Jon, a Targaryen alone in the world is a terrible thing. Do you think he knows that at this moment that he's speaking to a great grandnephew?
Oh, yes. There we go. He answered it for me.
Nice. Fast forward to season 7, and the last 2 Targaryens are united. Like really united. Like united at the genitals. Maester Aemon's words to Jon, "Kill the boy," are meant to be metaphorical, telling Jon to make hard decisions and be a man. Roose almost took it literally by drowning baby Ramsay. Ramsay will take it literally by killing his newborn brother, we find out in this episode.
No.
Ramsay killed the boy Theon by making him reek, and Theon killed the boys that the North think are the Starks. Good connections, man.
Wow. Good one.
This is also the episode we find out about the stockpile of dragon glass under Dragonstone.
Yeah, he caught it too. Awesome.
Totally. Thanks, Sir Matthew. Always good to hear from you, brother.
Yes. Love your feedback.
Hope you had a good Christmas.
Lady Lisa of House Sky, Pie Romancer. "Allow me to give my lord one last piece of counsel," the old man had said. "The same counsel I once gave my brother when we parted for the last time. He was 33 when the great council chose him to mount the Iron Throne, a man grown with sons of his own, yet in some ways still a boy. Egg had an innocence to him, a sweetness we all loved. Kill the boy within you, I told him the day I took ship for the Wall. It takes a man to rule, an Aegon, not an egg. Kill the boy and let the man be born." The old men felt Jon's face. "You are half the age that Egg was. And your own burden is crueler one, I fear. You will have little joy in your command, but I think you have the strength in you to do the things that must be done. Kill the boy, Jon Snow. Winter is almost upon us. Kill the boy and let the man be born."
Oh,
George R.R. Martin, A Dance with Dragons, A Song of Ice and Fire, Book 5. Oh, awesome quote,
yeah,
Lady
I
Lisa.
totally got goosebumps.
Me too. Me too.
So that's, as I'm sure you all realized, that's the book version of this scene. And we learn, where we can deduce from this that Aemon is the older brother of Egg from the Dunk and Egg novellas.
Yes.
Who turns out to be Aegon V, I believe. So yeah, really cool connection. He's talking about his younger brother, telling how he told him to kill the boy first, and he's simultaneously unknowingly telling his great grand nephew or whatever the same message, and he's feeling his face. It's a wonder that he didn't feel Jon's face and see, this is a Targaryen bone structure. You know?
That's funny.
Or maybe he did.
Maybe he did.
Yeah, who knows? Archmaester Stitches of the luminescent citadel on the Siren Isle. Tyrion's face when he saw Drogon was like, they do exist. And he posted the gif of that commercial of Santa from the M&M's commercial when he comes down the chimney and he sees the red and the yellow M&M, and they're like, oh my God, he does exist, about Santa. And he's like, oh my God, they do exist, about the M&Ms. And he like passes out.
Yes, I remember that.
That's a great connection there. Archmaester Stitches, love it.
Love it. Next, we have Lord Brendan of House Ushry Hill. Duncan dropping Biggie verses. I see you, big guy.
I just thought that was so funny. I had to post it. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, got to show respect to the B.I.G.
Yes.
Totally. Good to hear from you, Lord Brendan. Lady Ellen of House Clark. So, I was thinking on Lyanna Stark and her beauty, which has led to this somewhat rambling post. It's ironic to me that Sansa recalls everyone praising her aunt for her beauty, particularly knowing that people often think Arya looks more like their aunt. Sansa clearly finds Arya not within her ideal of beauty, often calling her little sister Arya Horseface.
Or Icelandic pony face.
Yeah. There you go. Robert and Rhaegar clearly found Lyanna attractive. Granted, Robert never really struck me as the overly picky type. I wonder if perhaps...
He just liked big tits.
Yeah. Or just any tits. I wonder if perhaps she was more enigmatic than traditionally beautiful, per Westerosi standards. I could certainly see this of Arya.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah, very good.
Nice parallel there.
Thanks for writing, Lady Ellen. Love hearing from you.
Yes, please write in again. Sir Pete of House Clark. Warning, long post. Contains spoilers.
Book spoilers. So if you're a little nervous about book spoilers, you can skip ahead about 45 seconds.
Hi, guys. I wanted to talk a little bit about your tourney of Harrenhal as the spark of Robert's rebellion. It is believed by me that Lyanna Stark disguised herself as the Knight of the Laughing Tree to soundly beat the knights in jousting. She, a very good horsewoman, yes, she was, whose squires beat up Howland Reed in order to teach them a lesson. When Rhaegar was ordered to unmask and present the Mystery Knight before King Aerys II to be executed, he probably found her changing out of the armor, saw the honor and valor of what she had done, then awards her with the Love and Beauty prize the next day. Winter Roses, as this tourney was arranged very quickly in a snap spring, year of the false spring. No spring flowers were available as the prize. Another reason that this tourney was quickly pulled together was a cover for Rhaegar to discuss the soft removal of his father Aerys II from the throne due to his mental illness far away from King's Landing with all the lords who matter.
Yeah, that's a pretty significant thing about the tourney of Harrenhal. Rhaegar was planning to usurp the throne from his father. Wow,
okay. King Aerys shockingly shows up and shocks everyone who can see him in such a poor state of being. For Lyanna Stark's part, she was not in love with Robert, who at this point already has a bastard baby girl in the Vale book character, Maya Stone. She's the one that leads Catelyn up to the Eyrie.
Exactly.
Yep. Got it. Okay. He was not going to be faithful to her or any woman. probably found Rhaegar charming and handsome for a youthful, intriguing, romantic match for her wild side. When the couple crosses paths, maybe by design or chance at the, in my opinion, inn at the crossroads and leave together. Someone with an axe to grind used this information to do damage. Someone like Littlefinger tells hot-headed Brandon Stark that it was a kidnapping. The rest is history. Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm. And you'll once you get to this part in the books, you'll know more about the Night of the Laughing Tree through a great story that Mira Reed tells Brandon Stark about a father that her story told her, or a story that her father told her about the little Crannog man, which is fucking awesome. You'll love it.
Nice.
Hello, Duncan and Rachel. It's Zach again with feedback for Kill the Boy. Man, this episode starts off hardcore. Dany plays some serious hardball with the Masters of Marine. That was a tense scene in the down there in the bottom of the pyramid with Viserion and Rhaegal. Man, she scares the shit out of those guys. It's a pretty interesting scene when she visits Hisdar in his cell, and man, her disdain for him is just palpable. Even at the end where she says, "Oh, even though there's a suitor already on his knees," she can't stand him. She knows she needs to use him to help rule Marine, but man, she does not like that guy, and rightly so. Pretty interesting transition where Maester Aemon says a Targaryen alone in the world is a terrible thing, and then of course who walks in? Jon Snow, aka Aegon Targaryen. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I had totally forgot that we got another grammar lesson from Stannis in this episode with fewer. That's great. I always remember the one from on the ship and going into the Battle of the Blackwater, but I had forgotten about this one, so I always love Stannis' grammar lessons. Ramsay Bolton. Dude, I forgot how much I hate him. I mean, I knew that I hated him, but all the shit he does in this episode alone. Arya calls the Hound the worst cunt in the Seven Kingdoms, but Ramsay Bolton is definitely the worst cunt in the Seven Kingdoms. Can't wait to see him get fucking eaten alive. Man, that was a good line when they're eating dinner. Sansa's eating dinner with the Boltons, and she says, "This is her home, it's just the people that are strange." And Ramsay looks at her with that crazy ass look in his eye and says, "You're right, very strange." God, man, that guy. Oh, hate that guy so much. The scene where Tyrion and Jorah see Drogon is, God, I love that scene so much. It's so magical. Even in the books, you get even more background about how Tyrion used to want to have a dragon when he was a little boy and the dreams and all that. So Tyrion seeing a real live dragon in the world, in the here and now, not hundreds of years ago, reading about him, that's just, it gets real for Tyrion at that moment. Great episode, great podcast, guys. Keep it up.
Thanks again for all your feedback, Lord Zach. We love hearing from you each week.
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
All right, that's our show, episode 87.
Woo!
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yes, thank you guys so much. Please keep sending in your feedback. We love reading it.
Also, a huge shout out to Jon Bailey, the epic voice guy from the Emmy-nominated Honest Trailers, for announcing our podcast. Awesome! If you'd like to donate or subscribe to support us, you can go to paypal.me/GOMPodcast and patreon.com/GOMPodcast to donate an amount of your choosing. There are links to both at gameofmicrophones.com. And thank you to Lord Robert of House Missievej, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, for your donation. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
We'd also like to thank our patrons, Sir Matthew of House Repp, Lady Lucy of House Roberts, Lady Candace of House Tews, Lord Jeff of House Allen, Sirenicide, and Luke, the Low Duke. We love you guys and appreciate your patronage very much. And hope you guys all had a great Christmas.
Yes, we hope you guys all had a wonderful Christmas. We're also working on putting together some more interesting incentives for supporting the show. Let us know what you would want, and if you have any cool ideas, we would love to hear them.
And also, we'd like to give a big shout out and thank you to Lady Lisa of House Sky, Pyromancer. Like I said, she's been awesome working with us behind the scenes to get our website up and running, gameofmicrophones.com. And she's just really been a huge asset. Can't thank her enough for everything that she's done and continues to do.
She's awesome. I love you, Lady Lisa.
You had me at Pyromancer.
I, too, am a pyromancer. A pumpkin pie romancer this holiday season.
Yeah, you guys love Lady Lisa too. And if you want to have the opportunity to love her, one way to get to do that is to check out her book, The People You May See. It's a children's book. It's available on Amazon. And she is a world-class artist. And she's done a number of amazing illustrations that are filling this book. So check it out. And you guys will really enjoy it, I'm sure. Next episode, we'll be covering Season 5, Episode 6, Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken. Give it a watch and send us your thoughts. We'd love to read them on air. If you'd like to call, you can call us at 813-JOFFREY. That's 813-563-3739.
If you would like to write in, you can email us at ravens@gameofmicrophones.com.
Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/GOMPodcast.
You can also listen to Game of Microphones on YouTube, BitChute, and Steemit. Just search for Game of Microphones to find our channel. We can't create a custom URL on YouTube until we have 100 subscribers, so please subscribe as well.
We're also on Twitter, Instagram, Gab, and Minds at GOMPodcast.
And we're on Tumblr too, at Game of Microphones.
All right, that's our show.
Thanks for listening.
They held each other close and turned their backs upon the end.
The hills that split asunder and the black that ate the skies.
The flames that shot so high and hot that even dragons burned.
Would never be the final sights that fell upon their eyes.
A fly upon the wall, the waves the sea wind whipped and churned.
The city of 1,000 years, and all the men had learned.
The doom consumed it all alike, and neither of them turned. Seven blessings, stonemen of the doom. Oh, that didn't come out right.
He's so dry. I mean, he's like beyond dry. He's like dehydrated.
Yeah, and I make fewer mistakes with this grammar than I used to.
Yeah.
See what I did there? So this guy is getting roasted hard. And then the dragons each grab half of him and just rip him right in half.
That's so intense.
Blood just splatters everywhere. For the rewatch. Just do
For
it.
the rewatch. I just gotta do it. Roasted masters. Love it.
Come get your masters. Hot, salty masters.
Oh, man.
You guys are strange, motherfuckers.
It's the people. But it's cool. It's cool looking.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, master. I'm Rick James.
What do the five fingers say to the face?
Slap.
Unity. Cut his guts from his belly and make him eat them. in the books, he's a couple generations older. Even he's like wicked old in the books.
So like a great uncle.
Yeah, something like that. Oh,
it's like,
God.
oh my God. Like, I need that in like my inspirational
Right.
affirmations in the morning.
Here, follow me. I got to show you something cool. Just walk to the end. It'll be fine. It's not a trap at all, I swear. It's perfectly safe.
What about Valar Morghulis? I never said.
Valar Morghulis. Oh, that's going in the outtakes
No.
at the end.
I just can't say it right now. Valar Morghulis. Oh, fuck. Valar Morghulis. That's it. I'm done. Oh, fuck. Okay. I did not want to die a coward.
We see a lot of Miranda, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Hey girl. Eat a cheeseburger.
Yeah, please. I got these cheeseburgers, man. My dreams didn't come true, and I got stuck in this place that it sucks, basically, and I was neutered. And so it's right about at that moment when Stannis comes strolling down the steps. And
Manus.
The Manus. Barristan. So there's the spies of Winterfell, like you just said, and then there's the ghost of Winterfell,
Oh, cool.
and then there's the bastard of Winterfell. You know, there's all these things of Winterfell.
Winterfell.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the Boltons. Sorry. I'm not talking about the Boltons. I need to get a message to her, to Sansa Stark.
Do you think she's pretty? And he's like, yeah, I'm not blind.
He totally scoffs at her. He's like,
a father that her story told her, or a story that her father told her about the little Crannog man.
we're also sorry, blah, 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 blah.